So if you'd begin to take your seats, please. I've got a couple of things I've got to deal with while you are finding a seat. You have to have one of these to participate in the meeting, the blue voter card. You have to have checked in out with the registrars, and you must have a blue voter card in order to participate in the meeting. Someone has brought this up to me and said they found it on the floor, so somebody's missing their blue voter card. So if you don't have this, you won't be able to participate. I'm going to turn it over to the clerk. There is a non-voting section. It's that section of the bleachers immediately to my right. So anyone who does not have a blue voter card, we found the owner of this. Okay. You know that person?
Joyce is the woman who came up. I don't know the woman who's on the left.
You might want to get there. Again, non-voting section, the section immediately to my right. Before I go further with some of the introductory announcements, please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we will have a screen up front here tonight. We'll be able to show some of the plans that are referred to in some of the articles, but not all. And also the debate, and for those hearing impaired, you'll be able to see it visually. So if you have that issue with hearing, if you want to move to this section over to my left, you'll be able to see everything that's going on the screen. Pardon? Can't hear me? Okay, thank you. So apparently the comment was, as translated by this voter up front, that it's too bright in here, so you can't see the screen. And so once we get going, we'll take care of that. No smoking anywhere on the property, in the building, and smoking, as I understand it, includes vaping. I've covered the voter registration card, which you have to have. In Harwich, we have our own rules of a parliamentary procedure. We print them for you. They're on pages 3 and 4 of your warrant booklet. There are some of the miscellaneous rules that are in our bylaw, and there's a motion chart. That chart has all the motions that are in order at a Harwich Town meeting. If there is something that isn't covered by our rules or our chart, we go to town meeting time, the handbook of the Massachusetts Moderators Association, to answer a question that may not be covered under our local rules. The process in Harwich is that I read the article. Unless the article is of a length that I've told you ahead of time, I'm not going to read it in its entirety, and I'll go through a list of some of the articles now so you'll be ready. Then after I've read it in, I recognize the chair of the Finance Committee, in this case Mr. Hughes, to see whether the Finance Committee has a positive motion. If they have a positive motion, then they put the motion on the floor. It gets seconded and debate starts on the article. If the Finance Committee does not have a positive motion, then I will seek a positive motion from anyone who would like to make one so that we get a positive motion on the floor. If no one wants to make a motion favorably on an article, I'll go back to the Finance Committee as directed under our bylaws, and the Finance Committee will make a motion to indefinitely postpone, and we'll proceed to debate postponement. If you're recognized, please use one of the microphones. We have one in each aisle, the center and on the right and left. You're welcome to come up here and address the meeting if you want on this podium directly to my right. If I can't recognize you by name, please give your name and address when you're recognized so that people know who it is that's speaking. Articles I will not read in their entirety tonight. Article 4, which is the operating budget. The article itself is brief, but the budget is in the back of the warrant booklet. It's Appendix B and consists of 4 or 5 pages in the back. And that will be the motion that we'll be voting on. Also tonight, I'll not read the capital plan. We'll read the introductory motion portion of the article. But again, the capital plan is in the back of your warrant booklet. It's Appendix C. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at it. I will not read in its entirety Article 29. That's the CPA article for the Cape Cod Rail Trail. I will not read in its entirety Article 36, which is the fertilizer article. I'll not read in its entirety Article 38, which is the tree preservation bylaw. That runs from page, I believe, 41 to page 53, so it's a fairly lengthy article. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at it ahead of time and study it. If you haven't, you should look at it ahead of time. I'll not read the Article 37 in its entirety, which is the pesticide bylaw. So again, if you're interested in that one, make sure you take a look at it before we get there. And finally, I think I've mentioned Article 38, which is tree preservation. Also, Article 50, property tax exemption list, will not read in its entirety. So if you're interested in any one of those, please take a look ahead of time, particularly the budget. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it, but it is all in the appendix in the back of your warrant. At this time, I'd like to go to the town clerk for the return of the warrant, Emily Mitchell.
Thank you. Good evening. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Harwich, Annual Town Meeting, May 5th, 2025. Barnstable. To either of the constables of the Town of Harwich in said county, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town, qualified to vote in elections and town affairs, to meet in the Community Center Gymnasium, 100 Oak Street, in said town on May 5th, 2025 at 7:00 p.m., then and there to act on the following articles. Hereof fail not, and make return of this warrant with your doings thereon at the time and place of said voting, given under our hands this 7th day of April 2025, signed Jeffrey F. Handler, Chair, Michael D. McCaskill, Vice Chair, Peter J. Pikarski, Clerk, Donald F. Howell, and Julie E. Kavanaugh, Select Board of the Town of Harwich. A true copy attest signed David Robinson, Constable. And the return of warrant dated April 9th, 2025. By virtue of this warrant, I have this day notified and warned the inhabitants of the Town of Harwich qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet in the Harwich Community Center, 100 Oak Street, in said town on Monday, the 5th day of May, 2025, at the time and place for purpose herein named, by posting up attested copies thereon in the 4 post office buildings in Town Hall and the Community Center in the Town of Harwich, which covers all 4 precincts at least 14 days before the time of said meeting as within directed, and causing an attested copy thereof to be published in the Cape Cod Chronicle, published in Barnstable County, and having its circulation in the Town of Harwich. Signed, David Robinson, Constable.
Thank you, Clerk Mitchell. I'll now, for a very short presentation, recognize Mr. Tom Evans, President of the Harwich Conservation Trust, to address the voters on the Colebrook project status. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. On behalf of the staff and volunteer trustees of the Harwich Conservation Trust, I extend our gratitude to you, the citizens of Harwich, who made this eco restoration at the Robert F. Smith Colebrook Preserve in Harwich Port such a success, including 2 major awards of which we can all be rightfully proud. The Colebrook Ecological Restoration Project transformed the 66-acre site by restoring a nearly 1 mile of stream and 44 acres of now healthy nitrogen-reducing wetlands. The partnership project achieved goals of improved water quality, coastal climate change resilience, habitat diversity, and a new walking trail with 4 bridges and access for folks with physical challenges, as well as those with youngsters in strollers. On March 21st, the statewide Massachusetts Land Trust Coalition gave its first ever Conservation Excellence Award for the Cold Brook Eco Restoration Project, thanks to the collaboration between HCT, the town, the Division of Ecological Restoration, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, as well as numerous consultants and scientists. In 2017, the town's Water Quality Task Force, through the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, recommended the town meeting voters approve $2 million toward the eco restoration to reduce nitrogen in the Cold Brook Saugatucket Harbor watershed, and thereby save taxpayers up to $6 million by reducing the need for costly wastewater treatment infrastructure. On April 7, HCT's Cold Brook Eco Restoration Project partners, including most notably Interfluve, the specialty engineering firm with the technical expertise and experience to create the innovative design, was honored with the prestigious 2025 Grand Conceptor Award presented by the American Council of Engineering Companies of Massachusetts. The award was presented at the Engineering Excellence Awards Gala held in Boston's Seaport District. The Cold Brook Preserve project finished first in a field of 37 projects from throughout the state and Northeast region, as well as entries from New York and Saudi Arabia. Other notable projects included major engineering feats at Logan Airport, highway interchanges, bridges, and entire buildings. The awards for the partnership between Town and Harwich Conservation Trust, as well as the innovative engineering, lift up another important aspect of our beloved community, and that's our excellent schools. Nick Nelson is a regional director and fluvial geomorphologist with Interfluve. Nick and his Interfluve experts were selected by HCT to lead the restoration design process. Nick grew up in town, attended Harwich schools, and graduated with the Harwich High School class of 1999. His work on the Cold Brook project is a testament to the dedicated teachers and school community that supported a kid from Harwich who returned home and used his expertise to help create an environmental success. We also celebrate the historic preservation and affordable housing partnership with the nonprofit Harwich Fire Association, which again was made possible by you, the town meeting voters approving critical Community Preservation Act funds. HFA's Firehouse Restoration and Apartment Project and HCT's Cold Brook Preserve Trailhead Project have been coming together beautifully for all to see. So, check out the Cold Brook River Otters on the cover of the Harwich Chamber of Commerce 2025 magazine, handed out to many of you as you came in. And the great story inside, thanks to the Harwich Chamber of Commerce Director, Cindy Williams. It's wonderful to see this direct connection between supporting the nature of Harwich and local business. Land preservation and eco-restoration are directly linked to our economy because it's our unique Cape Cod environment that attracts our residents and draws our visitors every year. Land preservation, ecological restoration, and water quality protection make practical business sense for all of us living here, as well as for folks vacationing here and doing business locally. So, thank you to our fellow Harwich citizens for creating so many community benefits through this amazing Coldbrook project. We hope you can explore the scenic trails with family and friends. For a free guided tour, please visit our website to sign up for our walk announcement emails and to see firsthand the lasting local difference you make right here in your hometown. Thank you, everyone, for your time and support.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Now I'd like to recognize the chair of the Select Board, Jeff Handler, who would like to recognize a couple of individuals. Mr. Handler.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Julie Kavanaugh, if you wouldn't mind coming up. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, never let an opportunity pass to say thank you. I want to express our heartfelt gratitude to Julie Kavanaugh as she steps down from her time on your select board. She is truly a remarkable individual who has dedicated so much of her time and energy to this community, our community. Julie, you remind me of my favorite saying. Modified slightly, it goes a little like this. Do the best you can for all the people you can in all the ways that you can for as long as you can. And that is such a perfect snapshot of this fine individual standing to my right. Throughout your time, Julie, in our leadership, in your leadership position in our town, you have carried yourself with honesty, integrity, grace, and dignity, no matter the situation. You have also shown us that serving the town of Harwich is rewarding and oftentimes enjoyable. You have made so many positive changes for so many people in the town of Harwich through your time on the Select Board that this must be acknowledged here tonight. Working tirelessly to improve the lives of our community, you have been a guiding light and a role model to so many. And Harwich will never forget you for your contributions and all that you have done. A true leader takes care of those around them first. Leadership is not a license to do less, but a responsibility to do more. You very seldom use the word I, and you clearly understand the power of we. It has never been about you, Julie, and that truly is your superpower. Please join me in giving Julie Kavanaugh a warm round of applause and thank you for everything you've done. One more, Mr. Moderator. Michael, if you wouldn't mind joining me. I think that's the first time you've obliged me with anything I've asked. You're all right. Ladies and gentlemen, please give me your attention just one more time. I would like to honor a remarkable individual and colleague, Michael McCaskill, as he embarks on his well-deserved retirement from the Select Board. Michael, dedication and commitment to our community have been nothing short of inspiring. Your leadership over the years has left an indelible mark on all of us. From your unwavering support for local initiatives to your unapologetic approach to complex issues, you have always put the needs of your community, our community, and this community first. That has never, ever been in question. Your ability and willingness to listen, to truly hear the concerns of our residents and engage with everyone around you has fostered an environment in which our residents feel comfortable telling you just what they think and feel. Michael, we've also become accustomed to hearing just what you think and feel, whether we want to or not. You've been an outspoken supporter of all things Harwich. Your passion for this community has been evident in every meeting, every discussion, and every single decision that you have made. We will miss your insight, your fearlessness in asking the hard and important questions, and your unwavering support for this town, Harwich. Michael, thank you for your 10 years of service. Your legacy will continue to inspire us as we move forward, and we wish you all the best. Please join me in giving Michael a heartfelt applause and round. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, we'll do some business now. Article 1, to choose various town officers and committees. Mr. Hughes.
I move that this article be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant.
It's been moved and seconded that Article 1 be accepted and adopted as printed. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. Those opposed to the motion is read signify by saying aye, and those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. At this time, the moderator reserves the right to make all moderator appointments at a later time in the meeting. Article 2, to hear reports of all town officers and committees for the year 2024. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 2 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant.
It's been moved and seconded that Article 2 be accepted and adopted as printed. Any debate? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. I have 2 reports that are going to be given to the committee under this, to the meeting rather, under this article. First, Mr. Hughes from the Finance Committee for the annual Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In preparation for this town meeting, the Finance Committee reviewed budgets, plans, articles, and requests, all of which are seeking approval and funding to operate, maintain, and invest in the town of Harwich. Last year at this time, our free cash was $2.9 million, and tonight we have a free cash balance of some $5.8 million. Yeah, that's twice what it was 1 year ago. As we work through the warrant and put this free cash to work, we remind you that there is nothing free about free cash. It's your money and yours to disposition. To spend or to save is up to you. The operating budgets for the town, Monomoy Regional School District, Cape Cod Tech, and the annual subsidy for the Wastewater Enterprise Fund are all funded by our available sources of revenue. For fiscal 2026, which begins on July 1st of this year, our levy limit is $61,900,000, and other revenue sources total $21.4 million, for a total estimated revenue of $83.3 million, or what is called available funds. This represents a year-over-year increase of 4.42%. Now, on the expense side of the ledger, and some of the cost drivers include a cost of living adjustment at 4% plus step increases, retirement assessments at plus 4%, group health insurance at 6.5%, other post-employment benefits at 100%, property and liability insurance at plus 10%, the dreaded Finance Committee Reserve Fund increase of $75,000, no new positions in the budget, total recap expenses at plus 16%, the Monomoy Regional School budget at plus 4.23%, and the tech school budget a decrease of 4%. The total of all related expenses is $83,293,122, which, if adopted tonight, leaves our available fund balance at $33,000. Thus, we are spending virtually everything that is available. Other financial information you may find interesting: our outstanding debt is $45.42 million. Authorized and unissued debt total $73.1 million. Debt service is $3.439 million, which represents a decline year over year of 2.68%. The general purpose stabilization fund balance is $6 million. Affordable housing fund, $2.2 million, and OPED, which is other post-employment benefits, at $6.3 million. On behalf of the Finance Committee, we thank you for our opportunity to serve and look forward to your active participation in the governance of our town. We remind you that the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend, but it is you who decides.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Have one other report from Joyce McIntyre, the local planning committee. It's going to give us a quick update on the local comprehensive plan.
Welcome,
Joyce.
everyone. Thank you. Brief update, just starting with a little positive note. Walking in here, I was thinking about, given the strife in the world, what an honor and a privilege to join with our community here in our together to debate, to vote. So a brief update about the comprehensive plan. Your world-class committee has been working so hard. I am just honored to chair that committee. The people work so hard, so thoughtful, really thinking about the next 10 to 15 years in this community. So a brief update. The housing production plan, which is part of the comprehensive plan after robust community debate this spring, which truly made the plan better and better for Harwich, has been approved by the Select Board. Thank you for all your input, and it is with the state to be approved. The comprehensive plan, briefly, if you forget, I don't begrudge you that. What it is it's a chance to come together with cool heads and think about growth and development, as well as our community character, sort of where Harwich is headed in the next 10 to 15 years. We're putting the final touches kind of on the final draft. This summer, we'll really be bringing it to you. We've been out and about in the community over and over and over again, methodically in the last 2 years. But then this summer is really your chance to give us your final word, and then we anticipate being here in the fall in a potentially a special town meeting to formally adopt that. And I'll leave you with this. As a community, we face challenging issues. Town meeting can be heated. There are many points of view, all of them, many valid, and trying to figure out what is right for us as a community, for our youth, for our working people, for the fabric of the community, for our older people, all of us that call it home here. I do want to make a plug for the comprehensive plan. For you, as you're doing the work in the community, whether on committees or just even coming to vote, to keep coming back to that plan. The draft is searchable on the town website. One of the things we've really pushed the contractor who's helping us with it is that it's very interfaceable, like you can use it going forward, and so that final draft is very searchable. If you're think about what does Harwich think about this, or where are we going with this, it should be there. And also with the housing production plan, that's also on the website. So thank you. Have a great town meeting.
Thank you, Ms. McIntyre. Article 3. See if the town will vote the salaries of the elected officials of the town for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026 as follows. The Select Board is $2,400 each, $12,000, Moderator $1,000, Board of Water and Wastewater Commissioners $1,000 each, $5,000 total. Board of Library Trustees $1,000 each, $7,000 total, and the Town Clerk $113,848.43. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 3 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant.
The motion is accept and adopt as printed in the warrant. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. Article 4, this is the operating budget. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds or borrow such sums of money as may be required to defray town charges for fiscal year 2026 and to act fully thereon. As I indicated earlier, the budget in detail is Appendix B in the back of your warrant booklet. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 4 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that the sum of $48,127,931 be appropriated for the purposes listed in Appendix B under the column titled 2026 Select Board Recommend, and further, the sum of $44,771,056 be raised and appropriated, and the following amounts be transferred from the following sources: $80,000 from betterment funds, $247,866 from the Cable PEG Fund, $500,000 from free cash, $91,950 from the Golf Improvement Receipts Reserve Fund, $300,000 from the Harbor Improvement Fund, $200,000 from the Harbor Waterways Fund, $200,000 from the Overlay Surplus, $83,000 from the Sale of Land Sinking Fund, $603,825 from the Wastewater Special Purpose Stabilization Fund, $36,147 from the Wastewater Enterprise Fund, $904,087 from the Water Enterprise Fund, $60,000 from Article 12 of the 2019 Annual Town Meeting, $50,000 from Article 40 of the 2021 Annual Town Meeting for the purpose of funding the fiscal 2026 operating budget, for a total budget appropriation of $48,127,931. It's a mouthful.
Motion's been made and seconded. The total budget figure is $48,127,931, and it's proposed to be appropriated from the various sources that Mr. Hughes read, all of which are listed in the article itself with the exception of two. They were transfers from prior articles that have surpluses, to a total of $110,000. However, that does not change the bottom line of $127,931. Our charter requires a select board to present the budget to the town. So before we go to debate on this article, I'll recognize Mr. Handler, the chair of the select board, for the presentation of the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Harwich. On behalf of the Select Board, the Finance Committee, and our Town Administrator, welcome to the 2025 Annual Town Meeting. You know, your participation in town government cannot be overstated. The Select Board would like to extend our gratitude for your involvement and your support throughout the year. An endeavor like this one does not come about because of just one person or just a few people. It truly takes a town to run a town. I offer my sincerest thanks and gratitude to so many who have worked tirelessly over the past year to get us to this point, our annual town meeting. And in no particular order, thank you to Interim Finance Director Ed Spellman and his finance team, Megan Green and Sherry Reisner. Thank you to our town clerk, Emily Mitchell, for all that you do and all that you do so well. Thank you to our incredible staff here in the town of Harwich and the department heads, and to the volunteers of your town, the committee chairs, and all the committee members. To the Finance Committee, the Select Board thanks you for your effort, your input, and your cooperation over this past year of building this budget. And Mr. Moderator, what can I say? You're a true Harwich All-Star. Thank you for your 49 years of service. Amen. Amen.
You're welcome, but this is number 50.
I heard 49, but we'll fact check me later. I also offer a special note of thanks to our town administrator, Mr. Joe Powers. As he has prepared us for the last 5 town meetings, Joe has worked diligently on the budgets, the warrants, and the articles with the same energy and commitment today as he has over the past 6 years. Please join me in thanking Joe for his dedicated and professional service to the town. Joe also joins me in thanking his team in administration, and wow, I'll tell you what a job they do. I never would have imagined how much work it's done in that office. Natasha Lyon, Jen Clark, Danielle Freiner, and most especially, Assistant Town Administrator Megan Eldridge, sitting over there. We offer our appreciation for their efforts. And now to our select board, your select board. I respect each and every one of you, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for all your hard work and teamwork since our last annual town meeting. It took a lot for us to get here. As the great Martin Luther King said, we may have all come in different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. With that said, on behalf of my colleagues on the Select Board, I am honored to present you this evening the operating budget for fiscal year 2026. As you will see on page 11 of your warrant book, we are asking you, the voters, to support the amount of $48,127,931 for our departmental operating budgets and some fixed and semi-fixed costs, as you will see in Appendix B of your warrant book. Please take note, there is a slight change in the table on page 11. The subtotal for other sources is now $3,356,875. I'll say that one more time if you're writing it down. $3,356,875, while the tax line is reduced to $27,665,556. As you will hear in the motion, we are also using $110,000 from completed past articles in lieu of your tax dollars. The bottom line total of $48,127,931 remains unchanged. As you will see in the last page of Appendix B, our departmental budgets, line 151, have increased 5.1% year over year, due in large part to a 4% COLA, or cost of living adjustment, for all employees except our senior managers, as well as funds to support a search for the next town administrator. Debt service has come down 2.7% year over year, and fixed and semi-fixed costs are up 8.1% year over year, due mainly to an increase in the investment of our OPEB, other post-employment benefit contributions. These factors in total present a 5.2% increase in the total operating budget that you see under Article 4. I will note the Select Board was committed to creating a budget that would continue to provide the programs, services, and benefits that our town and our visitors of our wonderful town expect and enjoy through fiscal year 2026. Again, as Chair of the Harwich Select Board, I'm honored to present the fiscal year 2026 operating budget to town meeting. We, the Select Board, as well as the Finance Committee, look forward to you, the voters, accepting this budget and adopting the motion as presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Handler. Is there any debate on the motion to adopt the budget? Mr. Kukunis.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I don't know if this mic is on. Is the mic on? Oh.
Got to speak right into it, I think, Leo.
I'll try to speak up then. I have a couple of questions and then a possible amendment. If I may, through you, Mr. Moderator, line item on the budget page, I forget what it is in the book, near the back, the appendage or whatever you call it.
Appendix B.
Yep, line item number 29, which is right under the account 148. Administrative salary and wages, it's gone up, by my calculations, almost $700,000. Can I just have an explanation for that? What I think is a pretty drastic increase. Maybe it's being moved from a combination of other bodies or something, I don't know.
Yes. Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Joseph Powers, Town Administrator, Town Meeting Member from North Harwich. To the previous speaker, as the Chair had alluded to earlier, for that line, line 32, for administration, in the salaries and wages line, the increase there is reflective of the 2% wage adjustment for all employees, separate and distinct from senior managers, as well as funds available for a search for town administrator. Those are the major increases in that line.
Okay, thank you. If I may, through you, Mr. Moderator, as far as the OPEB trust fund, do we have an account balance? Do you know off the top of your head how much we might have in there? I know we were running a huge deficit for many years, and I'm just curious where you had mentioned in the budget that you are putting in $500,000. I'd like to know what that budget is.
So I don't have it off the top of my head. To my left are a
right.
cadre of individuals. Thank you. And I'm going to look in the direction of our interim finance director. So the last report I had, the OPEB balance for the town of Harwich was $6,317,436. That does not include the contribution this evening.
Okay, thank you. And my final question, and this is the one I may make an amendment on through you, Mr. Moderator, to, I guess, the Finance Committee. Finance Committee Reserve Fund has been pretty stable for many years. For those in the audience that don't know, the Finance Committee Reserve Fund is used when a department head maybe made a mistake, unforeseen expenditures come up, a little bit more overtime than expected, and we want to finish the year out. That department head goes to the Finance Committee and requests a transfer. It was $50,000. You're requesting $125,000. To me, that seems like a extremely large increase, especially today where computers and all our department heads are doing such a great job of doing their budgets that I can't imagine unless you're anticipating some other expenditure. So if I get a good explanation, I will not make a motion to reduce it, but quite frankly, I have a problem with it.
So for those of you who are trying to follow along, we're on Appendix B on the main motion on the budget. Mr. Kukunis has brought up a question regarding line 8, Finance Committee Reserve Fund, and the increased amount. I'll recognize Mr. Hughes, Chair of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year we requested 125. It didn't happen because of budgetary considerations. The Finance Committee's approach to this, or concept of this, is the tighter we can push people on budgets to not keep building up our free cash year over year after year, the closer we can have them budget to what actuals will be. And if they do need that reserve fund or relief valve, to come to the town finance committee and ask for relief at the end of the year if they're getting close on overtime or something like that. So it's a management tool on our part so that we think in the future we can, I won't say squeeze, but we can control or better manage the budgeting process so that we can make things tighter than they might be today. And by the way, we surveyed all the towns on the Cape, and 125 is a lot less than what other finance committees have available to them for that same purpose. And I will tell you, in the past year, Leo, we did spend $40,000 out of the reserve fund for the year we're in now, so far.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to amend the budget then. Would you like to hear it now, Mr. Moderator? or
Yes,
would you like to?
you have the floor. If you want to make a motion, I need it in writing.
I'd just like to, and I have it in writing, I'll bring it up to you after I read it. I have a motion to amend the main motion by reducing line item number 22, line 8, in the Finance Committee Reserve Fund to $75,000, by reducing the end budget to $48,002,931, taking $100,000 out.
And as you know, the budget motion lists the funding sources for the budget. Which funding source do you propose to be reduced by $100,000? Taxation?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last
Which
part.
funding source do you propose to be reduced by 100?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me, I guess.
Well, the amount to be
Free
raised
cash?
by taxes is the $27,775,556. Is that
Okay, we'll take that. It's only $100,000, so it's not going to make a big difference to anybody's taxes by any stretch of the imagination.
okay? You want to bring that up?
Yep.
And
Let me get clarification. He says he's cutting $100,000, but he said he's taking the reserve fund down to $75,000.
I'm going to ask him that. Let me just look at this, Leo.
You want to add the line item to be reduced? I didn't do that.
So you're proposed to reduce it to 75.
Right.
So that's not 100,000, that's 50,000.
They're asking 125.
And you're proposing 75.
Yes, I'm sorry, you're right.
So
75.
do you want to reduce it by 50 rather than 100?
Right, yes.
Okay.
My math is bad. Sorry. Well, I asked for a warrant earlier today at town meeting, and they went town hall, and they wouldn't give me one because they said that's new practice now. They don't give the warrants out before, so I had to do all this work over there. Normally, I would have done it at home. Sorry.
Okay, so
Sorry, Pete.
Mr. Kahunas' amendment is to amend the main motion by reducing item 22, line 8, which is Finance Committee Reserve Fund, from the proposed $125,000 to $75,000. So it's a $50,000 reduction that he's proposing. And reducing the end budget by $50,000. So that would be $48,077,931. And the 50,000 reduction would come on the taxes line item, 27,725,556. So again, $50,000 reduction in the Finance Committee Reserve Fund, and then a corresponding reduction in the operating budget and in the total amount to be raised by taxes. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Mr. Kahunas, you're
Thank you.
recognized for the purpose of this amendment.
Thank you. On the motion, and thank you, everybody, for being patient on this. As I said when I got up to the mic, if I didn't feel I got a really good explanation to the rise, I would have allowed it. But quite frankly, if you're carrying $50,000, your department heads are doing yeoman's job doing their budgeting, and as you just heard, they've never spent the $50,000 that they have. They're keeping it very tight. They asked for it last year, they didn't get it. They were able to make this year with $50,000. I don't feel that giving them 75 is a bad compromise. Personally, I think they should just have the 50, but I want to be compromised and give them a little bit more. They do end the year with money in their accounts. And please understand something, because people might get up and argue, well, if something catastrophic happens, we need to know. You have to understand municipal financing. If something catastrophic happens in this town and we need funding for some reason, there are mechanisms to do that. This is basically, for lack of a better explanation and to help you understand it, it's a clerical thing. It's with department heads oversee something or maybe under-anticipate something that they'll have to be able to go to the Finance Committee and ask for some money at the end. The absolute worst case scenario, though, even if we spend this $75,000 and we have a deficit, is every single town meeting you'll have unpaid bills coming forth, or you'll have maybe a special town meeting where money can be put into the Finance Committee's reserve funds. If we put it up to 125, I guarantee you it'll be 125 next year, because that's the way we do things in municipal financing. You give them the money, they're going to continue to have it. It'll just be, well, we're keeping it 125. Eventually they'll be back for 250 too. So I think it's a good compromise, and I hope you support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Any further debate on the motion to amend? Yes, ma'am.
Noreen Donahue, Headwaters. I would support Mr. Kahunas' amendment, the reason being that both in tonight's explanation, but in much more detail during meetings of the Finance Committee, the reasons discussed, sometimes in reference to the fire department, were mostly centered around overtime. And as we know, reserve funds can only be used for something unforeseen and extraordinary. And no way can I get myself to a place where I look at overtime as being unforeseen or extraordinary. So unless there are some other reasons other than overtime, I would support Leo's amendment. Thank you.
Before I recognize anyone else, a correction. I indicated the 50,000 would reduce the taxes line to 27,725,556. The main motion already reduced that line by 110,000, as Mr. Handler indicated, because it includes something that was not in your warrant, which was 110,000 from articles that still have surpluses in them. So that line is already 27,665,556. With this motion passing, it would be 27,615,556. Any further debate on the motion? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion to amend, so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. No. Motion does not carry. Pardon? If 7 people believe that they want to take a standing count, are there 7 voters that want to question the count? I see 1 here. 2. I see 3. That's still short of 7 unless there are others. 2, 6. I'm looking at 6. Do you have a card, sir? Do you have your hand up? Do you have a card, a voter card? If you don't have a voter card, all right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do we have a 7? 7. Okay. We'll have a standing count. So I'd like to, I need 4 tellers. I know some of you have been tellers before. If you want to come forward, volunteer. Jonas Robinson. Ed Banks. Joan McCarty. I've got somebody, Alan. I'm all set. I got. And Lynn Zalakis. You've got Lynn Zalakis. Okay. Now, so Lynn. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a teller. So, back wall behind. Then this table and the back bleacher section. That one's not voters. Okay. All right. Tellers have volunteered. They have their clickers. They've been sworn in. So we're now going to take a standing count on Mr. Kokounas's motion, which was to amend the Finance Committee Reserve Fund from $125,000 down to $75,000 and to reduce the corresponding sections of the budget, including the amount to be raised by taxes, by $50,000. All those in favor of that motion, please rise and be counted. All those in favor. Jonas Robinson. Okay, Mr. Robinson was 45. Ms. McCarty? 54. Lynn? 22. And we're just waiting on Mr. Banks. No, you gotta take the no's now. We're gonna take the no vote. No, you are. Mr. Banks? 66. Okay, all those who, excuse me, opposed to the amendment, opposed to the reduction in the Finance Committee Reserve Fund, please rise and be counted. What was her number? 54. And Zalazak was 22. And Banks was 61? 66. This is a close vote. Lynn? 36. Mr. Banks? 88. And Ms. McCarty? 111. Those in favor, 187. Those opposed, 258. The motion did not carry. We're now back on the main motion on the budget. Any further debate? Yes, sir.
Hello. Good evening. My name is John Chory, 153
Mr. Chory. Yes, you're recognized, Mr. Chory.
153 Gorham Road. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for allowing me to speak tonight. But first, I'd like to congratulate Julie and Michael for their service on board of the Selectmen. I've worked with them for many years, and thank you for your service. And you stole my thunder on the moderator, Jeff. It's 50 years, but congratulations, Mr. Ford. I spoke before the Selectmen a few weeks ago on the warrant articles, and if they were all passed at town meeting, there was a number that I gave of what that number would be. And that was based on the preliminary warrant that I had at the time. The numbers that I'm about to read right now is based on the warrant that you have in your hand. The warrant is made up of about 9 groups that I could identify that I'm going to group together and then give you the total at the end. And then there's 2 other buckets of money that I'd like to mention to you folks. Just so though that you understand, in the passing of these articles, and we should have a budget clock up there that tells you how much money is being spent every time something is spent. But anyway, just so you have an understanding of how much money is actually going to be spent tonight if everything is approved. There are 5 town budgets, operating budgets. Those are the town operating budget, the Monomoy Regional School District budget, the Cape Cod Regional Technical School budget, the Water Department, and the Wastewater Department. If you total those budgets up, and again, these numbers are based on what's in your warrant, just in case some numbers shifted around, I guess, tonight, but that number is $87 million, and I'm just going to round off to the closest million, give or take a couple $100,000. So that's $87 million just for those 5. The other numbers that make up the budget, which you'll be approving tonight or disapproving, is the capital budget. The capital budget, as we stand now, is about $10 million. That includes $2.4 million for some fire trucks for the fire department. And those are going to be a ballot question, and I'll get to those later, along with the $35 million that's in the capital budget, which is the Great Sand Lakes project, and I'll get to those too. But the capital budget is $10 million. CPC funds, which is the Community Preservation Commission, those are the funds that pay for the ball fields, the housing, all the very nice amenities that this town enjoys. Their figure is about $2.3 million. There's about a dozen or so other money articles in the warrant. Some are $20,000, $30,000, $100,000. Those article numbers total up to about $800,000. The other big number is the debt. There's 3 articles in the ballot, will be in your warrant, that will be on the ballot in May 20th, I believe. That's the Great Lakes project at $35 million. Middle school renovation project, which is close to $7 million. And again, I'm just rounding off, these aren't exact numbers, but $7 million for the middle school renovation project. And the 2.4 for the fire trucks. You total those all up, you get $44 million. So when you add up all those numbers I just quoted to you, you come up with a budget of about $140 million. The other 2 numbers I'd like to say tonight is the OPED. Mr. Kukunis asked what the OPED liability was. I ever heard the answer. I heard the balance of OPED in the account balance, but the liability of OPED, which is other post-employment benefits. These are benefits that are paid to the retirees of the town when they retire. The town's liability is $38 million. I think that's the number you were looking for, Leo. $38 million as a liability. And these are numbers I received from the town. The Monomoy School District numbers are $27 million. I didn't include the tech school budget OPED numbers because I didn't know them. But it'd be 11%, whatever, but I didn't include them. Those numbers, if you total them 2 together, is $65 million. That's a liability to the town, $65 million. Now we come to another bucket in town called debt. We heard debt numbers up there, but the debt numbers I have aren't as close to the ones that I saw on the board. We have authorized at prior town meetings $125 million. That means it's in a bank account somewhere, or the authorization to spend it is there. So when the project is up to be spent, the money is there to be spent. So far of that $125 million, we've spent $45 million. So we have an unspent but authorized debt of $75 million. If we pass these 3 budget items tonight on town floor, and then at the ballot, you're going to be adding $44 million to that 75. So you'll have $119 million of authorized debt. We hear a lot in this town recently about affordable housing. How do I keep my taxes low? These numbers will never make that happen. The taxes will go up, housing will continue to rise, and if someone can answer those questions, I'd appreciate it. But it's just for informational purposes only that I want people to realize tonight. When you're voting your tax money, and it's hundreds of millions of dollars here. Thank you.
Any further debate on the motion on the budget? Yes, sir.
Charles Kruska, T-Berry Ave. A couple of questions before we vote, Mr. Moderator. That's one other line item in Appendix B, line 93, I believe, count 411, town engineer expenses at 244.8% increase. Just wondering what accounts for that increase. And one other request, Mr. Moderator. I know that in the budget process, the town departments were pretty much directed to maintain level service budgeting. Some departments, handful of departments, did come forward with a request for extension of services. I heard their presentations, very reasonable requests from my mind. Just wondering if before we vote, if we could have just a quick summary of what those requests were. I believe there were 4 or 5 of those requests from what departments, so we know what wasn't included in the budget that we're about to take a vote on. Thank you.
So your first question was line item 93, I believe, town engineer expenses and the increase of 244.8%. Mr. Powers, you want to address that one?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That is related to MS4 permitting, which is the municipal separate storm sewer system. It's required by the EPA and DEP. In years past, we had done that as separate articles. It's now been incorporated into the operating budget because it's no longer random or off year, it's regular.
Helpful information. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second question, if you want to stay there, Mr. Powers, was there was an observation by this gentleman that there were 4 or 5 departments he thought that had proposed increases and then they were reduced to stay in line with the selectmen's budgeting goal.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
He didn't mention what they were, but perhaps you know what they are.
I think I do, and thank you, Mr. Moderator. So there were 5 departments that were seeking what is referred to as enhancement of services. So an enhancement of service is a long-standing mechanism here in the town of Harwich. It's something that I inherited 5.5 years ago and that my predecessor used, I think, during his tenure as well. An enhancement of service is something that it goes above and beyond the current operating budget for a department or for a program. For fiscal year 2026, the 5 departments that were seeking enhancement of services were information technology, $70,000 to fund an internal information technology or a IT help desk professional. That enhancement of services was not incorporated into this budget. The police department was seeking a 6th, that's number 6, sergeant position at a cost of $98,121. That enhancement of service is not in this budget. The Public Works Department was seeking $135,000 to establish the position of Deputy Director of the Public Works Department. That is not in this budget. The Health Department was looking for $106,416 for a expansion of what would be a Health and Human Services Division. That was not incorporated into this budget. And the Youth and Family Services was seeking $69,938 to bring a staff clinician onto the staff. Again, those were not in this budget. And as the chairman said earlier, this is a budget that continues the programs that we have presently. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you. I think it speaks to the issue of the financial situation of the town not being able to afford, perhaps, to fund these, what I see as worthwhile projects. Appreciate that we all have that information before we vote. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further debate on the motion on the budget? It looks like you're ready for a vote. The budget before you is for a total of $48,127,931, and the sources of funding are those set forth in the motion as read by Mr. Hughes. All those in favor of the motion as read, so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. Motion carries. Article 5. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds or borrow such sums of money as may be required to pay the Monomoy Regional School District assessment for fiscal year 2026 and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 5 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that the sum of $31,142,031 be raised and appropriated for the purpose of funding the town of Harwich's assessment for the FY 2026 annual operation of the Monomoy Regional School District.
Motion's been made and seconded under Article 5 to accept and adopt. The sum is $31,142,031, and it's proposed to be raised and appropriated for the purpose of funding town's assessment for the annual operation of the Monomoy Regional School District. Is there any debate? Yes, sir.
Charles Gruska, T-Bury Ave, Harwich. I'm a member, community representative of the Monomoy Regional High School School Council, but tonight I speak as an individual taxpayer, residential taxpayer. This is always, for me, one of the most important articles on the town meeting. And based on my 34-year career as a teacher, a counselor, and 24 years as a principal, I have come to the conclusion, definite conclusion, that the most important work in our community, second most important work in our community goes on in the schools. The most important work in our community goes on in the families. And in those two settings is where, in our formative years, most of us, our competence and caring have been developed that is so critical to every other role in the community. And I have come to talk on this because, first of all, the Finance Committee recommendation on this article read to me a little bit like the Goldilocks story. It seemed like there was some feeling that the request is too low, some feeling that the request is too high, and a majority feeling that it's just right enough. For me, I agree with those who think that it is too low. And in good conscience, I will not be able to vote approval on this article for the amount requested. The Monomoy budget, and I've been in town 10 years now as a permanent resident, remains one of the best I've seen anywhere, and it should be and is a source of pride to the community. It should be cherished, should be preserved. We have 231 students under school choice attending Monomoy from other districts. For a school district this size, that's remarkable. That's a remarkable testimony to what we have. We have that in large part because of the budgets that have been supported year after year. Another thing that my career has convinced me of is the three most important things that go into the quality of a school is strong leadership at the district and building level, extremely competent and caring teachers, and the school budget to support their work. Not only do we have 231 school choice students, we have this year 130 students, seniors, who are participating in the community in internships. Our community has really engaged itself with the schools. That's a remark, and one person is coordinating that. Phenomenal individual, Sherry Armstrong. She's here in the audience tonight. She deserves credit. She really deserves more help even than this budget provides, because that's a tremendous task, but it's also a sign of how the community has embraced the school. Third, those of you, I've seen many of you at concerts, art shows, drama productions, the musicals, you know that Monomoy puts on the best show in town on the Cape at the most reasonable price available. Next thing I know from living here and following the budgets for my 10 years that I've been here is that this school committee, Monomoy School Committee, has the most transparent budget process that I have ever seen, ever witnessed, that I know of anywhere. It has a strong vetting process, which starts with a budget workshop. This year was held in November, where each principal and director comes directly to the school committee with any of the new requests for the budget to defend those requests and justify those requests before they're submitted into the budget. The business department and the school committee carry out a zero-based budgeting process so that it accounts for every dollar in the budget and vets and justifies that. It annually has brought forth budgets which are not meant to be negotiable. It comes forth and tells the town what the cost will be to meet all of its needs to maintain the level that I just described a few minutes ago. And I really have to laud and praise the school committee for that. I've not seen that anywhere. It's a courageous move, but it enables all of us to understand this is what it would take to maintain and keep going the quality that we have in a very honest way. Many communities, you wouldn't know that. Other communities I've lived in, the budget that you see at town meeting is not the budget that meets the needs of the district. It's more of a political kind of decision. This year, the school committee on March 13th, the day that was supposed to be the date and announced well in advance, the date it was going to approve its final budget, it received notice by letter read by the town administrator from the select board of concerns about the budget and a request to review the budget based on the thoughts. First of all, the budget increase, the assessment increase for Harwich was coming in higher than both the town department budgets and the town operating budgets. There was also concern about the costs of the middle school project coming online, and there was also concern, or warning of a possibility that it may take an override to pass the budget as the school committee had deliberated up to that point. A few days later, the school department got a clearer directive of an amount of 0.5 to 1% of a reduction that was desired by the select board. And the school committee made a decision 2 weeks after it voted its budget that it had deliberated on for 4 months, and made a decision based in responding to the town to cut the budget by $400,000, which resulted in a $309,126 reduction in the Harwich assessment, which is what you see in Article 5. I would point out that we just passed a town budget where the department budgets came in with a 5.1% increase. The overall budget came in at 5.2% increase. The original budget that the school committee passed, the assessment increase for Harwich would have been 5.2%, right in line with the other two budgets other two items that we just passed in Article 4. The cuts that were made are specific, and I have a list of them. It's public information. It was presented publicly. 21 specific items that will be cut from the budget that were proposed and found to be needs by the school committee. Those cuts are flying under the radar because none of them call for the reduction of any staff or the increase in class sizes. They're all in specific items, mostly in professional development for teachers and for furnishings and equipment. And so they haven't raised a lot of concern, particularly with another article that's coming up later in the meeting that's been on the radar. So it looks to the layman that there's really no impact on student learning by these budget cuts. But to veteran educators, we can see an impact at every item. At least this veteran educator can see an impact of almost every item on student learning. One example is the one cited in...
Mr. Guska, you've got about 30 seconds left.
Okay. I am just going to conclude by saying almost every one of the items being cut is a one-and-done item. I know we've got concerns, financial concerns, coming down the road of funding everything in the school budget. So common sense to me would say we should have kept those items in, one and done, purchased them this year because all of them would have multi-year positive impact. Students and teachers could use them for multiple years and they wouldn't affect future budgets. But we didn't do that. So I just share that I will not be able to vote in conscience for this budget on behalf of the students who aren't able to vote at this time at town meeting. Thank you for your time.
Any further debate on the motion on Article 5? Looks like you're ready for a vote. The motion was that the article be accepted and adopted, and the sum of $31,142,031 be raised and appropriated for this purpose. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. The motion carries. Article 6. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow a sufficient sum of money as may be required to pay for the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School District Assessment for fiscal year 2026 and act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 6 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that the sum of $2,116,618 be raised and appropriated to fund the annual operation of the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School.
Motion's been made and seconded under Article 6. It's accept and adopt. The sum is $2,116,618 be raised and appropriated for this purpose. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. Article 7. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow such sums of money as may be required to defray the Water Department operating budget for fiscal 26 and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 7 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and the sum of $4,968,049 be raised and appropriated from Water Department receipts to operate the Water Department operating budget for this purpose. Salaries, $1,418,440. Expenses, $1,869,889. Debt, $725,633. And indirect costs, $904,087. And further, to transfer the sum of $50,000 from the Water Department budget to other post-employment benefit trust fund created on Article 8 of the May 6, 2014 special town meeting.
Motion under Article 7 that's been moved and seconded is to accept and adopt, and the sum is the sum printed in your warrant, $4,968,49, and all of the categories are the same as listed in the warrant. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. Article 8. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow such sums of money as may be required to defray the wastewater department operating budget for fiscal 26 and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 8 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that $105,000 be transferred from the wastewater enterprise fund retained earnings, and $603,825 be raised and appropriated to fund the wastewater operating budget for a total appropriation of $708,825.
The motion is accept and adopt. $105,000 transferred from the wastewater enterprise fund and $603,825 to be raised and appropriated. Total budget $708,825. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. Passes unanimously. Article 9. See if the town will vote to approve of $9,007,030 debt authorized by the Monomoy Regional School District to pay additional costs of renovating and reconstructing the siding and windows of the Monomoy Regional Middle School, including all of the work incidental and related thereto, or take any other action relative thereto, and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 9 be accepted and adopted, and that the town approves the $9,007,030 debt authorized by the Monomoy Regional School District to pay additional costs of renovating and reconstructing the siding and windows of the Monomoy Regional School, including all of the work incidental and related thereto, provided, however, that this approval shall be of no effect unless and until the town shall have voted to exclude its allocable share of this debt from the provisions of General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21C, also known as Proposition 2.5.
The motion under Article 9 has been made and seconded. It's to accept and adopt. The figure is the figure in the warrant, $9,007,030. And this is to subject to a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion vote. which will be question 3 on your ballot on May 20th, to exclude the debt of this borrowing for the town of Harwich. Mr. Handler.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and through you, I would like to make an announcement. The Select Board, at a prior meeting, has changed its position on this article from indefinite postponement to a 5-0 vote to support. Thank you.
Any further debate on this article? Yes, sir. Mr. McManus.
Good evening. I want to announce I'm Ed McManus. I've been appointed as co-chair of the Monomoy Middle School Repair Project Building Committee. And I'm just going to give some brief description of the project. The intent of the project, and it will be in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be to replace and repair the siding and windows of the middle school in Chatham. The second phase, which will be taken up next year, will be to redo the roof. In financing these projects, last year's town meeting, this town meeting in Harwich approved a $2.5 million override for the project, which added to what we're have on tonight's agenda will bring the total estimated cost of $11,500,000 roughly for the siding and window replacement. The building committee that I serve on and chair with a member from Chatham, I think I want to tell folks is I think one of the most talented collection of local construction professionals I've served on a building committee. I've been very pleased to be able to work with them in deciding the extent and what needs to be done to put the middle school, Monomoy Regional School District, in good order for the next 30 to 50 years. The project initially was simply to replace the siding, but as we looked into the project, there is a lot more damage, especially around windows, not only to the siding, but to the sheathing underneath the siding, the shingles, and the framing around windows. Because it's a repair project, I think everybody who's had a remodeling project done on their house, if it's of any age, knows that you never know what you're getting into until you start pulling it apart. Because of that, our estimating for this project has been very conservative. We don't know how much of the siding needs to be repaired or replaced. We know areas around windows are going to need to be addressed, but in open wall areas, most of it should be in good shape, but we've discovered some areas in the middle with no window penetration where we have rot appearing. So we've been very conservative in how we've estimated it. We're very pleased with the competency of our project manager and architect in working this project up. And in doing so, because of the damage primarily around the windows, we have come to the conclusion that to do the project right, all of the windows as we work around on the siding will have to be removed to be able to get them flashed properly and replaced. We don't feel it's good money spent to remove the old, nearly at the end of their life windows and put them back in without replacing them with new energy efficient windows. And because of making that decision, a grant that came available just last month it's a Green Schools grant, which we're applying for. We hope that the school district will qualify to have the cost of the windows, the purchasing of the new windows, covered by that grant. We will be able to find that out, we imagine, within a month or two before we go to contract bid on the project. So that's the basis of the project. I know in the audience we have Scott Carpenter, our superintendent, and Michael McMillan, our business manager, who can answer a lot of the questions. And we have a member of the committee, Rick Roy, who I know would like to speak. And we also have two of the students who are attending the middle school that would also like to speak. And with that, I'll give up the mic, and if Mr. Roy could be recognized to speak after me. Thank you.
Mr. Roy, did you want to address the meeting? Yes, you may.
Good evening. Mr. Moderator, Select Board, Finance Committee, my name is Richard Roy, 3 Delmira Lane in Harwich. I am, as Mr. McManus said, a member of the Building Committee, or School Renovation Committee for the middle school. I got asked to come up and speak on this project, not necessarily from the technical side. I've just started to dabble in the town finance piece of it, and I'm not even going to say that I understand any of that, so we'll leave it at that. But what I will say is I grew up a Blue Devil. And, right? And
how did you end up being a Rough Rider?
well, it's, you know, it's too expensive to live in Chatham. No. I grew up a Blue Devil and had a healthy respect for our rivals, the Rough Riders. However, of course, across the course of my time on the Cape, I have managed to find myself to be part of what is now the Monomoy Regional School System. When I was a Blue Devil, I graduated in a class of 37 people. 37 people. I was at the top of my class, but there wasn't that many of us in the top of my class to compete with. 11, 12, 13 years ago, when I moved back, or I was here before that, but I heard that we were regionalizing the school system between both Chatham and Harwich. As much as there was a healthy rivalry there, I knew that it was really one of the only choices we had in order for the students in both of these towns to thrive. And I believe they have thrived. We have now been able to offer many more programs, many more sports programs. We have been able to become competitive with the school systems on the Cape as well as around the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I think that that's hugely important for all the students to be involved. Now, how we got here to needing to do this restoration project at the middle school, we can't look in the rearview mirror. We know the regionalization was good for both towns. We understand that in the future, the regionalization agreement may change. But the reason that we're all sitting in this room tonight is to appropriate or allow the Monomoy Regional School System to incur debt to fix the middle school. The middle school is desperately in need of repair. As Mr. McManus stated, you have a great building committee with a lot of talented people in it, and we all agree that there's nothing to do but to fix the exterior of that building, both the roof, the siding, and the windows. And it will be done properly because unlike when the school was first built, we now have an owner's project manager that is a third party that is going to watch the contractor as they move through the phases to make sure things are done correctly, put them under more scrutiny to make sure that the building is properly repaired for hopefully a building that will last us 20, 30, maybe even more years into the future. That building is a great building. It has a great area around it for the students. I think it's very important that we all come out tonight as a community and vote in the affirmative to support the funding or the debt incursion for this project. This is what we were here to do 12, 13 years ago. A lot of people sat in this very room and voted almost unanimously, if I remember correctly, to regionalize. And I hope that tonight all of you can look in and do the same thing and vote unanimously to fund this project for our students and our staff and make sure that everybody's healthy and happy in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Yes, ma'am. In the middle.
Hello, my name is Martha Crane, and I am confused why you want to postpone fixing this school. It frankly is got mold. We have our children in this school. I don't think we want to harm them. It's an unhealthy situation. And why are we postponing it?
The motion is a favorable motion, and no one has spoken in opposition yet, ma'am.
It's just the postponement from the select.
No, the Select Board changed their vote. Mr. Handler announced it at a previous meeting, that they are now in support of this article unanimously, 5-0.
I'm sorry. It's my hearing, it might be.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further debate, knowing that this is a motion? Yes, sir.
My name is Stephen Noyes, 18 Woodley Lane. The only problem I have is that who let this building get to this stage in the first place? You look at some of the pictures of the rot on the trim. Mr. McManus pointed that not only the siding has to be done, but the wood underneath, that all the windows are going to have to be fixed. Was there no money ever set aside for improvements or fixtures to the building in the first place over these last how many ever years this has been happening? Municipal buildings, in my experience, have always gone last in getting repaired, and all of a sudden you come to town meeting for a big bill to fix something. I used to live in Brewster. Sorry.
That was part of the town of Harwich at one point.
Yes, so I guess I'm saved from that. The town of Brewster would come to the town meeting and they would be asking for millions of dollars to fix school buildings that have been in repair for a number of years. So where did the money go, and is there ever money set aside to do these things year to year? That's my question.
Okay. So a question for anyone who can answer it as to whether or not there is a fund to set money aside for these types of capital repairs in the future. Mr. McManus, can you answer that, or?
In the school budget, there has always been an ongoing fund for continuing making minor repairs to it. In the case of, though, these sorts of damages, given its location close to the Atlantic and the severe weather, as time has gotten along, the damage has just sort of kept on building up and increasing, and it's become, in the repair budget, they've been doing the best they could, but it's gotten to the point where it's become overwhelming to the limited staff that we have to do maintenance on the school buildings.
Okay, thank you. I got this gentleman to my left.
Yes, Mr. Moderator. Dr. Murray Johnson. Kind of a question a little bit out of ignorance, because my construction is dentistry and not buildings. However, it's come to my attention, or come to my thought process, that we're proposing to spend $9 million on siding and windows. And Mr. McManus said we've already spent $2 million last year. And now we are anticipating maybe in 2027 spending money for a new roof, which we don't know an estimate on. I would love to know an estimate of the cost there. Total cost would be very interesting, and what would be the cost of building a brand new building?
So if anyone has looked into that, I'll see whether anybody wants to respond to that. Is there, Mr. McManus, just to the question.
Of the cost
of the roof.
Of the roof?
And then was it ever looked at, depending on what that number was, a new school? But I don't want to get into a new school.
Well, the estimate for a new school of the size that...
Well, how about the roof? The question...
Well, if we could recognize Michael McMillan, the business manager, he has those figures right at the tip of his brain, which I don't...
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. And I assume you're not a resident and a voter in this town, is that correct?
No, I am not.
All right. Any objection, though, to hearing from him, the business manager of the school? Hearing none, you're recognized, sir.
So the early estimate of replacing the roof is $8.5 million, total cost.
He said that the estimate to replace the roof is $8.5 million.
And then we did also look at the cost of replacing the school, and not to go into too much detail, but the total cost could range over $150 million.
Okay, thank you. So $8.5 million on the roof, Dr. Johnson. ballpark of $150 million to build a new middle school. Is there any further debate on the motion?
If I could point one item about
Mr.
the
McManus, I just want to see
Okay.
whether anyone else
Okay.
wants
All right.
to speak
Sure.
before I recognize you again. You have 2 times on each
Sure.
article,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yeah.
So, anyone else want to speak? Do you want to speak, ma'am?
Are you only asking for debates?
Yes. Anyone who wants to speak, pro or con?
Yeah.
You can ask a question. That's fine. That's part of debate. You already got the answer? Okay.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Emily Milan, Queen Anne Road. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm on tiptoes. I'm actually here to ask for permission for 2 of Harwich's brightest 7th graders to just share very, very briefly, if town meeting will allow.
Do I hear any objections? I don't. Very briefly, a couple of students would like to address us. Give us your name, and you've got about a minute each.
Hello, my name is Maggie Braz. Hello, my name is Emily Angelier. We are 7th grade. Oh, that's your card. We are 7th grade students at Monomoy Middle School, and while we are not yet 18, which means we are not a registered voter, we still care a lot about the future of our school. Our school, which was built in the 1950s, is an important part of our community. The addition to the building, which was put on in the late 1990s, has helped us, but it's clear that we need some updates to keep the school in good shape for years to come.
Right now, we are voting on a project to replace the siding and windows at the school. These are crucial updates because they will help protect our building from weather, especially water. In just a year, we plan to do the roof as well. And keeping water out is a huge priority. Water can cause serious damage, including mold, which can cause students and teachers to get sick.
These improvements will not only help protect the school from our elements, but they will also improve the learning environment. This will help boost attendance rates in our school community. A building that is well insulated and free from drafts and leaks will help all of us stay more focused and pay better attention in class. We will be able to learn in a comfortable, safe space where we can concentrate on what matters most, our education.
This project is not just about fixing things for today. It is about ensuring that all of us, your kids and your grandkids, are safe. The students who are here now and the kids who will come after us have a safe, healthy, and productive place to learn. Our school should be a place where we can grow, learn, and achieve. And these updates will help make sure that happens. I hope those of you who can vote will support this project because it will make a big difference for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else want to say anything on this article? Yes, ma'am.
I'm a very proud teacher right now. Those are 2 of my students.
You should be proud. They did a great job.
My name is Nancy Gifford, and I'm from 4 Old Chatham Road, and I'm a teacher at Monomoy Middle School. I've been hesitant to share the health issues that I've faced as a result of working in this school, but the health and safety of my colleagues and students is too important for me to keep quiet any longer. I have been battling mold-related illnesses for the last 5 years. Things have been getting progressively worse over time. Last year, I was so sick I thought it would end my career. For years, I've had daily headaches, sore throats, and sinus infections when I'm in the building, and have felt fine when I'm home. Last year was particularly bad as I began to develop skin rashes, extreme fatigue, brain fog, and even gastrointestinal issues. I have experienced mild anaphylaxis multiple times in my classroom. Twice I was treated for severe skin infections that were originally diagnosed as MRSA, but further testing determined that they were from exposure to aspergillus and other molds in the classroom. The inflammation was so severe that I couldn't walk without pain in my hips and knees. I wasn't able to drive for more than a half an hour without severe pain. I needed to go to physical therapy because it was determined that my kneecap was out of alignment. I was taking and using 10 different medications daily just to go to work. I have had an allergist, an immunologist, a dermatologist, an infectious disease specialist, and an occupational health specialist at Mass General Hospital all confirm that my health issues have been the direct result of exposure to mold at the middle school. I have been required to leave my classroom for extended periods of time because of the mold in my room and in other classrooms. Last year, I had to move out of my science classroom for over a month while my room was clean. We also lost our robotics room, and I had to run the program out of a closet in the library to make room for other displaced classes. Currently, I have 3 air filters and a dehumidifier running in my classroom at all times. I will need to continue with immunotherapy for the next 4 years. I want to be clear that I am not the only staff member who is dealing with mold-related illnesses. We can't wait to do the right thing and make repair to our school. The health and safety of our students, teachers, and staff depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further debate? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Bobby Parr. I support this 100%. I want to say that up front. I just have a question, the answer to which is not going to change my support. When it comes to facilities and renovations, does Chatham and Harwich split the cost 50-50?
No, the Harwich percentage, I believe, is 76.81%.
Thank you.
Any further debate? Yes, Mr. Guscott.
Yes, Charles Gruska, T-Berry Ave. First of all, congratulations to the superintendent on the building committee that he put together. I was involved in my career in building 2 new elementary schools and completely renovating another. I worked with building committees. I attended many, if not most, of the meetings of this building committee. Truly outstanding, best building committee I've seen. Thanks to the many local contractors, Mr. McManus did a great job co-chairing, and I think we can trust and have full confidence in their recommendations. I do believe this building needs to be done, and to now we've heard all of the positive aspects of getting this building done. There are some very genuine risks as well, risks to the future education of our students when we move ahead with this project, and I would just like to bring that to the attention of the public, again, in my role, which has always been to advocate for the students. And I have a granddaughter graduating from Monomoy this year, and I will not have any more children in the Monomoy district, but I'm concerned for every child down the road. If this project moves through, and it should, the problem is that we're going to be incurring more debt. Now, up to now, my knowledge is we haven't had a major capital project for the Monomoy district since the region was formed. This is the first of multiple multi-million-dollar projects. It's not just limited to the restoration of the siding and windows, and next year the roofing. There are many additional projects that have been presented to the select board totaling multi-millions of dollars. When you accrue debt, debt is non-discretionary. You have to pay it. You don't have any option if finances get tight. You cannot delay and say, we're not paying the debt payment this year because we've got to keep class sizes what they are, or because we've got to save the athletics program, or because we've got to save the art and music programs. You just have to do it. The only part of a budget when you have to reduce is the instructional component of the budget. For me, as a lifelong educator and administrator, that's where the rubber meets the road for the students. It's what happens inside of the building is always more important than the building itself, except in a case like this where the health and safety of the students is involved. But what we have to keep in mind for the future is that regardless of where this project goes, there are going to be financial challenges. I hope everyone who supports this project this evening and the enthusiasm that's here is then immediately converted to supporting the select board, who, to their credit, have initiated conversations with the town of Chatham regarding the funding formula for our district, because we're going to absorb all of this school costs right now at a rate of 76%. And the regional agreement that was set up on a student enrollment basis. The only part of the budget that really is directly proportional to student enrollment is the instructional part of the budget. That's the only part of the budget that we can cut if we have to cut. And projections are we're so close to the levy limit right now. We're spending 40% of our town budget on education. Chatham is spending 20% of their total town budget on education. They're about $3 million under the limit from the latest that I had heard at meetings. We're right up against the levy limit. We're going to need overrides to support educational budgets. And so I just ask that in the best interest, long-term interests of our students, that everyone get behind the select board in their efforts, put some emphasis on the school committee, that they need to take a look at the formula that was developed. It's not the only formula that you can use to fund regional school budgets, and there are regional districts that have formulated a different way. Most have formulated the way we have. I worked for the first district, Wachusett. Everybody copied us
Mr.
initially.
Goosecut,
I will end.
Mr. Goosecut,
Yeah.
we're dealing with whether or not
Yes.
to approve the borrowing by the
Yes.
district, not to renegotiate the formula at this meeting anyway.
So I just want everyone who votes on this to vote with that consideration in mind of what the extended risks are for our students as we try to take care of these needs on their behalf and look towards the future, so that we don't wind up in a crisis down the road in the future when we cannot have the time to do what needs to be done to pull ourselves out of that financial crisis. Thank you.
Any further debate? It looks like we're ready for a vote. Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Vaginas, Pleasant Lake Avenue. I'm speaking this evening in support of funding for the repairs and renovations of Monomoy Regional Middle School. I'm a long-term Harwich resident, taxpayer, employee of our school district, and most importantly, Grammy to 6 current and future Monomoy Sharks. I'm also a proud graduate of Harwich High School. My 5 children all attended school here in this town because their father and I very purposefully chose to raise our family in this community, as did his parents and grandparents before us. Now our children have made the same choice to live, work, and raise their families in this place we all call home. Our town of Harwich has a long and storied history of supporting our children and young people. Our youth benefit from this heritage at our town libraries, Recreation Department, Brooks Academy, the 204 Cultural Center, Harwich Junior Theater, when they participate in sporting and scouting opportunities and attend Chamber of Commerce programs and events. We also provide job opportunities for youth of all abilities. The foundation of all of these opportunities is a high-quality public education. I'm blessed to live in the same community as all 6 of my grandchildren. They do not yet understand or appreciate how lucky they are to live in this place or how deeply rooted they are to this community. Their great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, generations of aunts, uncles, and cousins graduated from Harwich High School and most recently Monomoy Regional High School. These relatives all graduated with a quality education that allowed and continues to allow them to be local business owners, educators, volunteers, and valued employees across our community. This is possible because the taxpayers of Harwich saw fit to appropriately fund their education, including building new schools and renovating older ones when necessary. Many of you here tonight and your ancestors benefited from this generosity and still do. The next time you enjoy one of the wonderful programs or offerings at Brooks Academy or the 204 Cultural Center, remember to thank those past generations, as both buildings were originally built to educate our town's youth. Appropriately funding our schools so that the current generation of Monomoy Sharks receive the same legacy of high-quality public education means continuing to provide safe and healthy buildings for them to learn and grow in. They deserve the same gift, and we have the opportunity to say thank you to those past generations by giving this gift to the youngest citizens of our town. So someday these young citizens can participate in this same process, as we saw earlier tonight, and vote to continue this proud legacy of a high-quality public education provided in safe and healthy spaces to learn and grow. Please support this project tonight at town meeting and when you vote in the annual town election on May 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further debate? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Bob Piantadosi, 89 Bank Street. I have a question for the building committee that's has been studying the problem with the windows and the siding and the roof. Have you anticipated how you're going to mitigate the mold that's currently in the building so we can keep our teachers and students safe as we transition, if we approve the repairs? Have we anticipated how do we make it safe now going forward?
The question from this gentleman is, how are we addressing safety while the repairs are being made, given the environmental conditions that exist?
Michael McMillan to respond to this?
Yes. Business manager for the school, Michael McMillan.
Thank you very much. So we have an ongoing project to maintain the cleanliness of the building. We have a lot of work to, we're doing a lot of air quality testing to ensure that there's no elevated levels of mold of any kind, of dangerous kinds throughout the building. We've also done a lot of work to mitigate any water damage to any of the building materials, and that work is ongoing as we speak, and it will continue to go throughout the lifetime of this project and beyond. Equally, as this project is done and we take all the shingles off the side of the building, we'll get a good look into what's there, and if we discover any damage, any problems, those problems will be mitigated as well. So this is a huge step forward. It would be a huge step forward in addressing some of those issues, but the district will continue looking to ensure that the quality of air is kept at a high level.
Further debate? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Chris Joyce, Harwich Port, Wheaton Way. I'd like to move the question.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay. So a motion's been made to move the question, which means to terminate debate. It's a non-debatable motion, requires a 3/4 majority to pass. All those in favor of terminating debate on this article so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. So we'll now go to the motion. The motion on Article 9 is accept and adopt and approve the $9,007,030 debt authorized by the Monomoy Regional School District to pay the costs of the renovating and reconstructing the siding and windows at the middle school. This vote is also subject to a debt exclusion vote under Proposition 2.5. It'll be question 3 on the ballot on May 20th. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. The motion carries. It does not need a 2/3 since we're not borrowing the money. Article 10, see if the town will vote to enter into various lease purchase financing agreements for town equipment, including in the operating budget for FY26, and leases may be a term not to exceed the useful life of the equipment as determined by the Select Board and act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that this article be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant to authorize the town to enter into various lease purchase financing agreements for town equipment, including in the operating budget for FY26. Said leases may be for a term not to exceed the useful life of the equipment as determined by the Select Board.
The motion under Article 10 is accept and adopt and to authorize the various lease financing agreements as set forth in the article. There are no funds. This money's in the operating budget. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. This requires a 2/3 majority to pass, lease with an option to purchase. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. I rule it got the necessary 2/3 vote. In fact, I'll rule that it was a unanimous vote. Article 11. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds or borrow such sums of money that may be required for the purpose of funding the public access station, Cape Cod Community Media Center, 17 Shad Hole Road, Dennisport, providing the public access television to citizens of Harwich and act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 11 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and at the sum of $486.75 be transferred from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund for this purpose.
Motion under Article 11 is accept and adopt. The sum is $150,486.75, and it's proposed to be transferred from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund for this purpose. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's unanimous vote, and I so declare it. Article 12. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of $125,000 to cover anticipated expenses of the Harwich Home Rule Charter Commission and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move this article be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and the sum of $125,000 be transferred from free cash for this purpose.
Motion made to accept and adopt, and the sum of $125,000 be transferred from free cash for this purpose. Any debate? Mrs. Hall.
Good evening. Sandra Hall, South Harwich. I am the lead petitioner for this article. At the May 20th election, you will be asked to approve establishment of a Harwich Home Rule Charter Commission as allowed under Mass General laws. Placing the question on the ballot was a heavy lift and required gathering the signatures of over 1,800 registered Harwich voters. It is fair to say that we could accomplish this task, but the fact that we could accomplish this fact at all demonstrates a certain amount of dissatisfaction with how things have been going in this town over the last several years. On the same ballot, you will be asked to vote for an independent 9-person commission to do a thorough top-to-bottom review of what is in essence the constitution of the town of Harwich. Okay. What we are asking for tonight is $125,000 to fund the work of the commission if approved by the voters at the ballot. By way of background, in 2022, our town administrator asked the Bylaw Charter Review Committee if a consultant would be of benefit to their work in undertaking a comprehensive review of the charter. The committee agreed and supported the article. At the 2022 Fall Town Meeting, voters passed an article for $75,000 to be used for that purpose. Select Board estimate, not ours. However, once the article was passed, our Select Board decided to withhold those funds for their own use in reviewing the charter. That money was never spent. So to reach the $125,000 number, we used the Select Board's original estimate plus sufficient additional funds to cover the expenses involved with clerical help, legal advertising, and the legally required printing and mailing of the final project to Harwich households. And just to clarify one point in the Finance Committee's explanation of the funding in the warrant, no member of the Commission will receive a salary. The Select Board has recommended indefinite postponement of this article. Fortunately, your Finance Committee appreciates the wisdom of this endeavor, as well as the need for funding sooner rather than later. Members of the Select Board have opined that the Commission, if established, could wait until the fall for funding. That would be in October if it happens at all. First, we have no guarantee that it will happen, and second, without this funding, the hiring of a consultant and any clerical assistant would be delayed at least 6 months. That's a pretty big chunk of time when you have an 18-month timeline to complete a project. So tonight I'm asking you please to follow the Finance Committee's recommendation and approve this article. Thank you.
Further debate on the motion to accept and adopt Article 12. Mr. Koukounis.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I rise and ask you not to support this article. This is a perfect example of what we talked about in the very second article, or third article, the budget. We have a Finance Committee. You, in your wisdom tonight, voted to give them $125,000 to keep in their reserve fund. If, in fact, the voters do vote to have this committee established at the ballot, then they will be a town board committee elected. They will be able to go to the Finance Committee and ask for a reserve fund transfer because they don't have a budget. And I really take issue with the fact that we suddenly need $125,000 for a committee to look at our charter. The whole idea of looking at the charter is just to compare it to other towns, to what other municipalities are doing. How has it been working or not working here in our community? And to maybe bring forward to this body a suggestion of how you may want to change the town. It could be as drastic as doing away with town meeting completely and having town meeting members like Falmouth has. We've never discussed that in this town. That could happen. That could be something that they choose to do. They may come back with a suggestion that we, the voters, are going to have an opportunity to look at to change the town administrator to a town manager, giving him different authority over the Board of Selectmen. Once again, all these ideas are things that the committee should look at, should review, and should discuss in their next 18 months. They don't need $125,000 to do that. I'm sorry. I mean, I can't believe how much people are just spending money, and then, and I know it's going to happen as we get further into this document, oh, I can't afford to live here. My kids can't afford to live here. Really? Look what you're doing, man. I know $125,000 is not going to make a difference on whether we can live here or not, but you've got to start taking a stand. This is a ridiculous ask. Vote the committee in. I think it's a great idea. I think they should do the charter. Let them bring some recommendations back to us to review, to discuss in an open meeting, and find out if we want to change it or not. They may come back and say, listen, everything is good. We don't need to change anything. Please vote this down. It's a ridiculous ask.
Any further debate on the motion?
Yes. Rosemary Shields, Harwich,
Yes, ma'am.
93 Bay Road. I don't get this fear-mongering. They had to collect 1,800 signatures to do this. I think, you know, what Mr. Kahunas has been talking about is pure and simple fear-mongering, and I hope that you vote for this. Thank you.
Any further debate? Yes, sir.
What?
I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
Linda Sabula.
Mother of God.
I've got the reading glasses on, Linda. I'm sorry.
I don't care. I hope that you will support this article. I think that there is fear-mongering. Collecting 1,800 signatures was a huge lift. And keep in mind that the process requires public meetings, public hearings, asking what you want as to how you want to run our town. This commission will be separate from the select board. The things that will be proposed for voting by the voters will come from you. There is no preset idea that we're going to change this, we're going to change that. This is not a poke at any particular individual, or has been, I have heard that said. It is also not a poke at any individual commission, board, or town agency. It was probably, 25 years ago, the last time we looked at our charter. Everything should be looked at on a periodic basis. This is fear-mongering, and this commission, and I will be upfront, I am one of the people running for this 9-member commission. We will make sure we hear you. How do you want to be guided? How do you want to be governed? And so please don't listen to the fear-mongering. This stuff will be done in the sunshine like it should be, and hopefully you will vote this funding because yes, there are requirements that whatever changes are being proposed has to be printed and mailed. Well, that's not peanuts in this day and age. We have to have some legal advice to make sure that if a member of the public suggests something, is it okay to do under Mass General Law? We need to make sure that nothing is being proposed that is going to be in violation of that. So yes, we do need professional assistance, which the Bylaw Charter Review Committee wasn't allowed access to any of that, or we would have done that way. So here we are. Please don't listen to the fear-mongering. Please pass this. Thank you.
Mr. Weiser, Bob Weiser.
Well, I stand confused because I haven't really heard any fear-mongering. I've just heard some discussion about whether or not $125,000 is necessary to consider the possibilities of how we might revise the town charter. So since I washed ashore only 23 years ago, and apparently it was 25 years ago that we did this last, I'm curious, how much money did it cost us to review the charter the last time? And can we have a reasonable discussion instead of calling each other names about fear-mongering? Because I really have no idea. I'm going to probably vote in favor of the ballot measure to have a charter review commission, but whether or not I vote for the $125,000 tonight is a completely separate question. And I would actually like to hear some information about it rather than fear-mongering. Thank you.
Any further debate? Yes, ma'am.
Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. In 1987, we had our original charter commission, elected charter commission.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Hall, they can't really hear you. You've got to speak right into that or...
Okay, can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay. 1987, I chaired the original charter commission that changed the upper structure of our town government from part-time selectmen to a full-time selectman with a town administrator. We have Alan Thompson sitting right here, who was also on that commission. Most of our members that sat at that point are gone. It cost us $13,000 to hire a consultant in 1987. We all know that that would have multiplied many, many times over. The $75,000 that we anticipate using for a consultant is probably a fairly reasonable amount, but it's not the amount we chose. It was the amount the selectmen and the town administrator chose when they put forth the article in October of 2022 to fund what we thought was a consultant for the Bylaw Charter Review Committee. We never got that money. I was on that committee at the time as well, as was Ms. Zabula. So for today, the one thing I would like to explain is the difference between a Bylaw Charter Review Committee and a Charter Commission, because it's important. Massachusetts gives towns the option for home rule, which is what a Charter Commission is set up to provide a town. It's our way of doing things separate and apart many times from what general laws apply and what have you. The Bylaw Charter Review Committee is advisory to the Board of Selectmen. They do a lot of work, and there's been a lot of work put into recommendations from the committee to the Board of Selectmen, and not a lot of them have gotten the approval of the Select Board and gone through. There are a lot of gray areas that have sent the Select Board running to Town Council to get an interpretation that works for them, not necessarily the interpretation that was intended. So given all of that, the group of us got together and decided it was really time to do an independent charter commission with a professional consultant to guide the work, to let us know what is allowed, what is not allowed in today's world. A lot of things may have changed that we don't even know about. Could it change the upper structure of the town government? Yes, it could. But that's going to be up to the voters at the end of the day, not the commission. The work will be done, the hearings will be held, the vote will be taken after everybody is given ample opportunity to review what's being suggested. So there's no reason to worry about anybody just flipping the script without all of you people here having a part in it. Thank you.
Yes, sir, in the middle.
Hi, Ben Warshaw, 8 Lakeway Lane. I just want to make sure I'm reading this tax chart in the beginning of the book correctly, and understanding that this is a $125,000 expense, and that is going to be approximately 1 cent per $1,000 of assessed home value. So $1 million their house, this is going to cost them $10, and we're still debating this. I'd like to make a motion to move.
Any further debate? Yes, sir.
We've heard, my name is Gerald Beltis from the East Harwich. We've heard a lot about this article. We haven't heard anything from the board who opposes it. Could we hear why they're opposing it?
Anyone from the select board want to make a statement? Mr. McCaskill.
Good evening. Good evening. I'll take a stab at it. We each had differing opinions on this, so I can only speak for myself. There was no information really other than the fact that there was an ask for $125,000. If we just reappropriated the $75,000, which, to the previous speaker, she seems to have her own narrative about what happened with that money. We had two different consultants come in from different organizations on charter bylaw review. And I think Ms. Hall is the lead petitioner, is a little confused by some of the facts. And two different times we had people come in and review our charter and say there's really nothing wrong with it. What's wrong with it is, a few years back, if you remember, Ms. Hall tried to get the charter police from things that she thought were being done wrong, which never got proven out. The accusations alone tonight, this isn't spirited debate. This is Sandra Hall's personal vengeance. Now, we can talk about the 1800s.
I don't want to get into personalities.
We could talk about,
Hold on a second. I don't want to get into personalities. We're not going to get into personalities, so let's just keep our comments, rather than to individuals, to the article.
So those that have paid attention to the process, the board has brought this forward many times and discussed. The board has taken our Charter Bylaw Review Committee seriously, and we've had them before us on many, many items. And many, many items come before you every year for change. Clearly not enough. But we, the board, overall, thought it should be before you here tonight. My own self, I don't understand the $125,000 ask. And there is time that the committee is going to have to get elected, and we'll be at another town meeting, and an appropriation can be given then. There was many money items discussed that we didn't approve this year, and this was one of them. Approve of. That's it.
Mr. Urbano.
Yes, Lou Urbano from West Harwich. I'm going to say this as a self-aggrandizement, so forgive me. I met many of you, both at the dump and at Shaw's, collecting some of those 1,800 signatures. I'm also running to be on the commission. The reason why, and preferably, I wasn't in favor and not in favor of the 125 before tonight. That wasn't important to me. What was important is to review our town, its government. Because at the dump and at Shaw's, so many people spoke in terms of what they would like to see and have changed in the town. And some were very unhappy. This is an opportunity to really dig down and view it. As I think about it personally, I'm hopefully going to be one of 9 people sitting for a year or 18 months discussing what your needs are, how to make what works work and keep it, how to look at what isn't working and see how could we improve it, and then bring it back to you to make the decision. But I don't want to spend a year or more of my life with 9 other people coming up with ideas only to be told by a lawyer later on, well, you can't do that. I would much prefer that they are part of the process to be told right up front, you know, you're going in the wrong direction or you're going in the right direction. Continue looking at it or walk away. There's some very serious questions. I have one that I was going to ask later on, but I'll ask it right now. We're all taking votes tonight. Each and every one of us are taking a vote. I ask you, how many of you believe that that vote is advisory? May I see your hands, may I ask? May I see your hands?
No, Mr. Urbano, this isn't even relevant to the article.
It is relevant because that's what the commission can look at in terms of, what does town meeting really mean, and what does it
Mr.
mean?
Urbano, this is not even about whether we create a charter
Well,
commission.
I thank you.
This
I
is
thank
about
you.
whether we appropriate $125,000
And
for the charter commission,
absolutely
which has
true.
not been created yet.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kukunis.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to, once again, I apologize if I did some fear mongering. I don't even know where that
You don't
came
need to
from.
use the word Leo. Please just address the article.
Okay. I stood up for financial reasons only. I personally support and will be voting for the Charter Commission when it comes time. My comments are we don't need to appropriate $125,000 tonight. We have other mechanisms. You heard it. There's $75,000 already at the Charter Review Committee, and we have voted ample money for the Finance Committee to have. They only spent $50. Now we gave them $125 in June. They're going to get another. There's ample monies to get this to move forward. So just vote it down. There's no need for this expenditure of money. Thank you.
This gentleman over here.
Yes, Alan Peterson, 3 Rogers Road. I'd like to move the question.
Do I hear a second? Okay. So the motion is made to move the question, which means to terminate debate. It's a non-debatable motion, requires a 3/4 majority to pass. All those in favor of terminating debate on this article so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. We're now going to go to a vote on the motion. The motion is that the article be accepted and adopted, and the sum of $125,000 be transferred from free cash for this purpose. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. I'm going to take a standing count. If the tellers are still here, they come forward, please. Get the clickers. Right. That floor section, just the section behind. Same section, Joan? Lynn, same section? Remember to get the folks up here when I call it. Okay, please, when you stand, have your voter card in your hand, your blue card. You've got to have that. All those in favor of the motion as read, so signify, please rise and be counted. Hold your voter card up. All those in favor of the motion.
Yeah. You can get Billy to sit in here tonight.
Mr. Robinson, 11. Lynn? 20. Joan? 79. Mr. Banks? 78. All those opposed to the motion, those in opposition, please rise and hold up your voter card. All those in opposition.
till somebody asks to reconsider the school project.
Yeah.
Based on the count.
Mr. Robinson. 40. Lynn, 22. Joan McCarty, 55. And Mr. Banks. All right, Ed. 60. Let's do it again. Yeah, it's 177. Yeah. 177. Those in favor of the motion, 188. Those in opposition, 177. It is a vote. Article 13. See if the town will vote pursuant to Section 9(6) of the Town Charter to adopt the 5-year capital plan for FY 2026 through FY 2030, as proposed by the Select Board and set forth in Appendix C of the warrant. We're not going to read all of Appendix C, but it is back there, and hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 13 be accepted and adopted as set forth in Appendix C of this warrant.
Motion on Article 13 is accept and adopt as printed in Appendix C of the warrant. Is there any debate on the capital plan? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Use the microphone.
Hang on. Can I approach the podium?
Sure. You want to use this one?
Sure.
It's on.
I just have a question about the golf irrigation update for $2,500,000. Are they going to follow the water restriction guidelines that we all have this summer? No, sounded like you said no. I would appreciate it.
I think you're on Article 16, Joan.
On Appendix C in the back.
Oh, it's on Appendix C. Can you show me,
You're right
us where? Okay.
So I'm just wondering if they are going to follow the guidelines that we all have to follow with the water restrictions this summer.
So, this is a question for the Golf Commission.
Golf, is there a golf guy? There he is. Yes.
Hello, I'm the golf course superintendent, Sean Fernandez.
Sean, can you respond to this question
I
about
sure
whether the
can.
Golf Commission follows the water restrictions of
We
the
do.
town?
We follow the state DEP. I have my own permit with the DEP, and I'm already in water restrictions as we speak.
That means
So-
yes, you will follow.
Yes, we already do, and we follow. We're even tighter than the town.
Excellent, my man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They will follow. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the capital plan? Looks like you're ready for a vote. The motion before you is that the plan be adopted as set forth in Appendix C. All those in favor of the motion so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. Article 14. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds or borrow a sufficient sum of money to fund the projects in the table below included in the fiscal year 2026 capital outlay plan and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move this article be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that the sum of $26,000 be transferred from the Cable PEG Fund and $75,000 be transferred from the Waterways Improvement Fund for a total of $101,000 for this purpose.
Motion under Article 14 is accept and adopt. The sum is $101,000 to be transferred from PEG and from waterways as indicated in the article. Debate. Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just for purposes of information, the cable fund has a current balance of $1,575,580, of which the amount that was stated will be taken from. And the waterways fund has a balance today of $467,712.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Is there any further debate on the motion under Article 14? Looks like you're ready for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. The motion carries unanimously. Article 15. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow a sufficient sum of money to fund the projects in the table below included in the FY 2026 capital outlay plan and to act fully thereon. I'm not going to read all of the projects that are in the chart. Mr. Hughes.
Before I get to that, Mr. Moderator, Celtics are going to overtime. As we might be.
Right.
With that, I move that this article be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and further that the sum of $4,576,149 be transferred from free cash for this purpose.
The motion on Article 15 is accept and adopt, and the sum of $4,576,149 be transferred from free cash for this purpose. Debate. Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As was stated earlier this evening, the present balance of free cash is $5,821,439. As you may recall, under Article 4, we voted to use $500,000 from free cash for OPEB contribution. This article is $4,576,149. You will see that Articles 45, 46, 47, and 48 also rely upon free cash, and as was just adopted under Article 12, that would bring a full, the free cash balance from the $5.8 million at the conclusion of this town meeting, full use down to $560,039.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Any further debate on Article 15? Looks like you're ready for a vote. All those in favor of the motion so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. You'll notice, Mr. Hughes, the color of the tablecloths we put up here for the town meeting.
I know.
For the Celtics.
Didn't do us any good.
Old Harwich
Yeah.
green. Article 16. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow in accordance with Chapter 44, Section MGL, or any other authorizing authority, the sum of $2.5 million to fund the Cranberry Valley Golf Course irrigation system upgrade, including all costs incidental and related thereto, is required in the FY 2026 capital outlay plan and act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that this article be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and further that the sum of $2,500,000 be appropriated for this purpose, including all costs incidental and related thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is hereby authorized to borrow $2.5 million pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds and notes of the town therefore, that while the bonds and notes so issued shall be general obligations of the town, it is the intent that the principal and interest payments shall be made from the Golf Improvement Fund.
So the motion under Article 16 is accept and adopt. It authorizes a borrowing of $2.5 million for this purpose, and it further notes that while the bonds and notes so issued shall be general obligations of the town, it is the intent that the principal and interest payments shall be made from the Golf Improvement Fund. This requires a two-thirds majority to pass. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. I rule that the motion did get the necessary two-thirds vote. Article 17. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow a sufficient sum of money to fund the items in the table below included in the FY 2026 capital outlay plan and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 17 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that $100,000 be transferred from the Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to make pipe discontinuity upgrades.
Motion under Article 17 is accept and adopt. The sum is $100,000 and is proposed to be transferred from the Water Enterprise Fund retainage earnings to make a pipe discontinuity upgrade. That's a new one. Any debate on the motion under Article 17? Yes, sir.
John Sarkis from Old Brewster Road.
Yes,
I
Mr.
just want to
Savage.
know, what is pipe discontinuity upgrade? What does that mean?
You know, I had the same question.
That's a lot of money.
But I wasn't going to ask it if nobody else
$100,000 is a lot of money
did.
for something that we don't know what it is.
Who we got? Okay. Yes, sir.
Jason Trepanier, I'm the water superintendent, water and sewer superintendent. The
You got to speak right into that mic,
Oh, boy.
Jason, or they can't hear you. This is the water superintendent.
water superintendent, it's a water main replacement. This is engineering, so we can have some water main replaced on Harbor and Mill Road.
Okay. So pipe discontinuity is water main replacement. Any other debate? Looks like you're ready for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's unanimous vote, and I so declare it. Article 18, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow a sufficient sum of money to fund the items in the table below, included in the FY 2026 capital outlay plan and act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 18 be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that $150,000 be transferred from wastewater retained earnings for this purpose.
Motion under Article 18 is accept and adopt. The sum is $150,000 and is proposed to be transferred from wastewater retained earnings for this purpose. Is there any debate? Looks like you're ready for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's unanimous vote, and I so declare it. Article 19. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow, in accordance with Chapter 44 of Mass General Laws or any other authorizing authority, the sum of $2,400,000 to fund the acquisition of a new pumper fire engine and 2 new ambulances as requested in the FY 2026 capital outlay plan. The appropriation authorized by this vote shall not take effect until the town authorizes to exempt from the limitations on total taxes imposed by General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, Prop 2.5, the amounts required to pay the the principal of and interest on any borrowing authorized under the article. Mr. Hughes.
I move that Article 19 be accepted and adopted, and the town appropriate the sum of $2.4 million appropriated for these purposes, including all costs incidental and related thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is hereby authorized to borrow $2.4 million pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds and notes of the town therefore, provided, however, that any borrowing authorized hereunder shall be contingent on the passage of Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion vote.
Motion under Article 19 is accept and adopt. The sum is $2.4 million. It's proposed to be raised by borrowing, and there's also a ballot question for debt exclusion of the borrowing if authorized. Any debate on Article 19? Ms. Donahue.
Thank you.
You got to speak right into that one. It's tough.
Usually don't have a problem, but we'll see.
We can hear you now.
Okay. I'm completely in support of this article. My statement is really about the way it's being funded. I believe this has been put through as a debt exclusion over the life of the vehicles. Fortunately, for the past 5, 6, or 7 years, our free cash amounts were high enough that our departments didn't have to be in jeopardy of not getting a successful vote. So it's unfortunate that I see these are back in this case. But what I would say is that about 10 or 12 years ago, we very often used capital exclusions, which would only stay on the tax bill for 1 year, for amounts that are around $1 million or $2 million, because now our standard amounts are like 20 million. So I just a statement that as we design our debt going forward and our warrants for next year, that we remember there is another tool that we haven't used in many years that may be a better manipulation of our debt. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate? I don't see any. All those in favor of this motion requires a 2/3 vote because it's a borrowing. So signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. I rule that it got the necessary 2/3 vote and passes. Article 20. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, or borrow a sum of money to implement portions of Phase 8 of the Town of Harwich Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, CWMP, approved by the Massachusetts Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and a Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act certificate dated May 13, 2016, consisting of the construction of sewers in the Great Sand Lakes area, Bucks Pond, John Joseph's Pond, Kitty's Pond, and Sand Lake of Harwich, including any and all other costs incidental and related thereto, provided that any borrowing authorized hereunder shall be contingent upon the passage of a Prop 2.5 debt exclusion vote and to act fully thereon. Mr. Hughes.
I move this article be accepted and adopted as printed in the warrant, and that the sum of $35 million be appropriated for this purpose, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is hereby authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Journal Law Chapter 29C, Journal Law Chapter 24, Section 7.1, and Section 8.14, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. That all or any portion of the amount authorized to be borrowed by this vote may be obtained through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, the trust, that in connection with any borrowing through the trust, the member of the select board, the town treasurer, or any other appropriate officers of the town are each authorized to execute and deliver any and all agreements with the trust and the Commonwealth's Department of Environmental Protection that may be necessary to obtain any such borrowing, provided, however, that no amount shall be borrowed or expended hereunder unless the town shall have voted to exclude the amounts required to repay any borrowing authorized by this vote from the property tax levy limits imposed by General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21C, also known as Proposition 2.5.
So the motion is favorable to accept and adopt. I'm not going to reread the entire motion. It is a borrowing, $35 million, and it does have a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion ballot question associated with it. It's question 5 on the annual ballot for May 20th. Debate on the motion. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ann Frechette, and I'm from East Harwich. I'm here tonight to ask that you vote yes for Article 20. And I want to point out right from the start that this is an article that was supported favorably by both the Finance Committee and the Capital Outlay Committee. Now, Article 20 is important to Harwich for 4 reasons. First, it will help protect the water in 4 ponds in East Harwich: John Joseph's, Bucks, Kitty Pond, and Sand Lake. John Joseph's and Bucks are Massachusetts' great ponds, and Bucks has a public beach. These ponds have become impaired due to excess nutrients leaching into the groundwater from septic systems. Bucks Pond has seen recurrent beach closures due to cyanobacteria blooms in recent years. Now, a sewer line will help clean up the water because it will remove all of the phosphorus, all of the nitrogen, all of the PFAS, metals, and other contaminants. Literally everything that everyone hooked up to the sewers flushes down their toilet, rinses down their drains, or washes in their clothes washers or dishwashers, and it transports all of this to the Chatham Wastewater Treatment Plant instead of allowing it to leach into the groundwater. Which brings me to the second reason to vote yes on Article 20, because it will protect our drinking water. And I would like to read directly from the application that Town Administrator Mr. Joseph Powers submitted to the State Revolving Fund for this project. And it states, and I quote, The groundwater travels down gradient of the Great Sand Lakes, coming into contact with wells 5 through 7 in the town of Harwich. It also crosses through wells 1 through 3, 6, 7, and 9 in the town of Chatham. The working area, along with a major of the down gradient area, is within multiple Zone 2 drinking water protection areas. Reliance on septic systems has resulted in excess phosphorus and other contaminants from Tidal septic system effluent loading into the groundwater, which threatens the quality of the drinking water supply. A yes vote will ensure that our drinking water is safe into the future. The third reason to vote yes in support of Article 20 is that it will underutilize flow capacity that we already purchased from Chatham. Part of the reason that this project was proposed in the 2023 to 2024 timeframe is that it is on a direct line between the sewers that are already constructed and the Chatham wastewater treatment plant. And it was the only section possible without a new water treatment plant being constructed. So this project is going to result in a more efficient use of money that we already pay in taxes. Finally, the fourth reason to vote yes in support of Article 20 is that the state revolving fund has awarded a $31 million allocation to Harwich for this project. To access the funds, we must pass an appropriations article before June 30th, 2025. So tonight is our only chance. Now, part of this $31 million is a 0 to 2% loan forgiveness, and we're most likely to get the 0% from the State Revolving Fund, as well as 25% loan forgiveness from the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund. And I have the letter from the Cape and Island Water Protection Funds right here in my hand, so if anybody actually wants to see the award, it's right here. And we might also get another 3.3% principal forgiveness, again, from the State Revolving Fund, which adds up to almost $9 million that we will not have to pay for this project. Now, because the project is in the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, we're going to have to implement this project at some point anyway. So this is our opportunity to use up to $9 million from state money that we will not have to pay to construct this project. Now, there are those who are saying that the money does not exist or that it will go away. But I want to say I called Michelle Higgins, who is one of the administrators for the State Revolving Fund, and she said that is pure disinformation, complete disinformation. Even if there were a catastrophe, and imagine whatever catastrophe that you will, this process of approving the funds is actually going to take quite some time. We have to go through another application, we have to go through bidding, and so there is time to assess. So yes vote tonight helps us to access the money and gives us time to assess and see where things happen and how the project progresses. Now, the $31 million was awarded in a competitive process in which 10 other worthy projects from other towns lost. If Harwich fails to follow through on this process, we are going to have a credibility problem. Now, I served on a grant funding committee for 10 years, and I can assure you that people will say, Harwich couldn't use the allocation we already gave them. Why give them more money? So in essence, we would be losing not just the $31 million allocation, but future allocations as well. Do we really want to burden Harwich with the full cost of the sewers when we could otherwise have the state cover millions of dollars in the cost? Now, I've also heard grumblings of why their neighborhood and not ours, and it is very unfortunate, in my opinion, that Harwich has decided to fund sewer construction piecemeal in this manner so that it pits neighbor against neighbor. A house divided against itself does not stand. If we look at Dennis as an example, this past fall they passed almost a $250 million debt exclusion to fund a very large chunk of their sewer project, which I think is a much better way to cultivate community. Now, there are people who are saying that the sewers should have been built decades ago. I agree. Now, it's easy to blame people in the past, and we do not know all of their reasons, but I do know that the Cape and Island Water Protection Fund did not exist then. It does exist now, and it is offering us a $31 million allocation. So the time is now. Please vote yes for Article 20, and then vote yes on our ballot on May 20th. Thank you so much for your time.
Further debate? This gentleman here.
Scott Norum, Pleasant Lake. Most of what I intended to say was just spoken. What I would emphasize is the fact that this was the 6th largest allocation from the revolving fund for this most recent cycle, out of 25 allocations. I also know that the terms of the revolving fund are changing, or they've been proposed to change, and it will be more difficult to receive allocations in the future because of those changes, and especially if we don't follow through on our application from last year with a positive vote now, our credibility will make our particular applications even more difficult to be awarded. So I also urge a yes vote on Article 20. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson? Yes, gentleman here, over there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Chris Harris, 40 Bank Street. Thanks for all the questions that are before us. Friends, I've reached my limit on debt exclusion for my taxes this year. You know, we talk a lot about affordable housing, but I'm getting to the point of housing affordability, and it's documented that taxes, land value, we may have a lot of equity, but taxes and insurance are putting me to the edge. And maybe we're seeing a golden age coming, okay? And that we can afford all this and we can tax everyone. But GDP dropped in the first quarter since the pandemic. We're all going to be hurt, you know, financially. I'm speaking from a macro perspective. I appreciate the previous speakers, but I've reached my limit, and I agree with the Select Board on this decision. I would ask to vote this down.
Further debate on the article? Gentleman in the middle.
Good evening. My name's Dave Swords. I live on Clearwater Drive in East Harwich. My family has owned property here in Harwich since 1974. My wife and I have been full-time residents in the town for the past 15 years. We feel very fortunate to live in the town of Harwich. I think one of the reasons many of us live in this town is because of the environment. It is a beautiful place to live and to recreate. Visitors come to the town of Harwich, not just during the summer months, but all year round because of the type of environment that we have. Right now, the ponds in question are deteriorating. There is absolutely no question about that. I think many of us, myself included, when environmental issues are discussed, we tend to look at it from a big picture point of view. For example, we could be sitting on a beach at one of our ponds and say, isn't this beautiful? There's nothing wrong with this pond. The water is gorgeous. It feels great today. The sun's out. The reality is we have to understand what's going on underneath the water. And the science on that subject is clear. 15 years ago, less than 100 feet offshore, you could look to the bottom of Buck's Pond and see a sandy bottom. Now, if you look 100 feet offshore, it is nothing but murky, discolored water. I don't think any of us want to live in a town where the publicity would be that at some point, one of our bodies of water is unusable. That happened several times last summer, The main reason it happened is because I wouldn't call it nutrients, I would call it effluent that has been slowly seeping from the northern part of town into those ponds. So I'm here to vote and ask for everyone's support for this article, and to keep in mind that we all live here, and if we don't take action now, there is going to be continued degradation of the ponds. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've got the gentleman to my left, and then Selectman Howell.
Tom Birch, Queen Anne Road. When I see a $35 million expense, I kind of look at it a little, and then it's going to be a Proposition 2.5 override. Then I look at the Select Board indefinitely postpones. In the Finance Committee, there was a 5-2 split. So there's some questions. I like to make an educated thing. Is it appropriate to ask the Select Board, the members that voted to indefinitely postpone it, why they did that? Is it appropriate?
It certainly is appropriate. Whether they would like to address the meeting or not, I'll find out.
And same with the two that voted it down on the Finance Committee. I just like to educate why they did it. They're my elected officials.
Thank you,
I'd
Mr.
like
Birch.
to hear it from them.
Any member of the majority vote of the Select Board want to speak? Mr. Handler is rising. Slowly.
Hi, Don. Good to see you. Thank you through you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you to the Speaker. So I'll start by saying that this was a struggle for the Select Board to determine whether or not this article would end up on town meeting floor. We had several debates, and if I remember correctly, it was a split vote to not place. I could be corrected here if I'm wrong, and I wouldn't mind being corrected, but I believe it was a split vote with me being the swing vote. And I speak for myself when I say that I wanted this to be on town meeting floor. This is exactly the place for an article of this magnitude to be vetted, to be deliberated, to be discussed. And a $35 million ask is absolutely something that you voters are going to determine. I'm only one vote. So that's the way I wanted to begin this. So the ask is a the Speaker asked, why were some of us not in favor to vote to indefinitely postpone? I'll give you my position, and then maybe one or two of my other board members will come up as well. A $35 million ask may not cover the project, may not cover the total cost of the project. The total cost of the project is still unknown. Yes, the state is giving favorable terms, some loan forgiveness, and potential more loan forgiveness. And that's important. And you all should take that into consideration when you think about how you want to vote. But at this point, for me, I was unclear as to the total cost of the project. So if we get $31.5 million, we get a loan forgiveness of 8, maybe another loan forgiveness of X number of million, $1 or $2 more million. But the project comes in at 39 million, 40 million, who knows? I don't know. That's one of the main reasons why I voted to indefinitely postpone this article. We have yet to get a concrete number of what it will cost. The board tends, at least I tend to look at, and I know the board does as well, we tend to look at the big picture. And a few speakers have already mentioned tonight the total amount that this voting body potentially could pass tonight. And just some numbers, we have roughly $42 million in Phase 3 that has not hit your tax rolls, or I'm sorry, has not been realized in your taxes yet. We're going to put another $35 million on top of that $42 million for about $77 million. Phase 2, I believe, was $24 million. We're looking at over $100,000+. Thank you very much. If it was $100,000+, I don't think I'd be standing up here tonight right now. Over $100+ million And I believe it was Select Board Member Howell who mentioned, we don't know what that's going to look like for the taxpayers yet. I feel exactly the same way. That's another reason why I voted to indefinitely postpone. The CWMP, our sewer project, is to get ourselves nitrogen removal credits with the state. We have our expert over here from GHD, and this project does not satisfy that aspect of our CWMP. It does not give us nitrogen removal credits from the state's mandate, the state's unfunded mandate. So that's another reason why it was hard for me to see this through. Another fact is that the approximate cost per sewered home of this project, again, we don't know the final numbers, but as it sits right now, it's at double what the last phase was per sewered home. Last phase, it was about $66,000 to $69,000 per sewered home. This phase is up over $125,000 per sewered home. Less homes, substantially more cost. That's a hard one for me to swallow. Now, do I feel that it's important to have clean water? Absolutely. This has been made clear over and over again by our expert, that this is not a drinking water issue. And I will say that one more time, more emphatically. I don't want the town of Harwich to feel at all that sewering this area will preserve our drinking water, our AAA drinking water, our award-winning drinking water. That's Jason over there and the water department. They are proactive, they are not reactive. If they thought that there was a drinking water issue, they would not sit on their hands and wait for it to happen, they would fix it. So for me, again, and me only, it's a hard thing for me to swallow when I hear drinking water is going to be compromised, when we've been told by the experts drinking water is not compromised. And I'll even go one step further. It was made clear by the experts that if drinking water was an issue, they would not be sewering around Great Sand Lakes. They would be sewering 2 to 3 miles down from Great Sand Lakes by where the wells are. To me, that makes good sense. And then the last thing I'll say, which was, and I hope I'm answering your question, but the last thing I'll say is that, at least for me, it is bad financial practice. Just because there's a good deal on the table, just because the loan is low, the interest rate is low, I need to know more about what this is going to cost you all in order to feel comfortable to put my seal of approval on it. Because as one voter stated, taxes may need to increase to take care of all of the sewer projects that we are mandated to take care of. So I hope I answered your question. I could go on and on and on. But I listen to our experts. I'm not in fear of our drinking water. I look at the cost. And for me, without knowing the total, I just can't put my stamp on it. Thank you.
Mr. Bursch, did that answer your question?
Yeah. I just want to hear it from them. You know, they know way more about it than I do. But it's $35 million that we're going to add on to 2.5. So, thank you.
Thank you. Lady right here, and then Selectman Howell.
Thank you. My name is Christina Wiseman. I live on Rainbow Way in the Great Sand Lakes neighborhood. I am certainly supportive of this article. I have a 6-year-old son. He's a kindergartner at Harwich Elementary, and I would love to see him to continue to enjoy the ponds for the rest of his life. I actually just wanted to make a comment about some of the conversation that's been going on this evening. There have been several times where affordable housing and cost of living in terms of like future generations has been brought up where it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Affordable housing, and I hate to use the word, I apologize, Mr. Moderator, but it is a fear-mongering tactic. And throwing that word around when we're talking about issues like a home rule charter is a tactic to scare folks. And so I just wanted to ask my peers here at town meeting to please use that term wisely and use it when it is related to a housing issue that is on the table. Thank you.
Further debate. Selectman Howell.
Sorry, this is Justine for And now for the minority report. Over the last 10 years, I have not been the biggest apologist for sewer projects. But we're obligated under state mandate to do projects. Ours has been broken down to 8 phases in the so-called Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan. I'm not going to get into the science of what it is we're remediating or not, but I am going to get into the dollars and cents, which a lot of this is not accurate. I'm going to go to the point that this is not an optional project. It was at phase 8. It got moved up to so-called phase 3.5, which allowed it to be able to be submitted to the state. I would like to be able to walk you through what that process is. We ask for the project to be approved by the state. There's something called an intended use plan. We submitted that sometime last year to the state. They gave us a provisional approval, and about a month or so ago, they gave a final approval. That is only part of the equation. The rooms taxes that we have set aside for remediating the water goes through a Clean Waters Board at the county. In order for anybody to access that money, they have to be on an intended use plan at the state level. You can't get that money otherwise. So where we're at right now is we competed against 20 projects. And at the county level, they allocated a conditional approval, and you may hear, what's that mean? Are we actually not going to get the money? That is not what that means. It's conditioned on us taking an action tonight, taking an action at the ballot, and then putting out bids. And it's really important that you understand how the end of this could work. Right now, we're eligible for 0% financing, and the max would be about 2+%. The county is allocated close to $8 million to buy this thing down. It's important that if the bids should come in too high, at any time before we sign the contract with the state for the funding for the bond, we could stop. So, you know how you find out what this is really going to be in an exact number? Once we get the approvals, you put a bid out. Companies bid on it, and you'll find out exactly what it's going to cost. If it exceeds our expectations, we can bail even at that point. Right up until the point when we make a commitment with state, it's totally optional. But what isn't optional is this project, at some point in time, has to be done. And in my conscience, I switched my vote originally from indefinite postponement to this because I don't see us getting a better deal anytime in the near future. As it stands right now, in the current national environment, I cannot say that this project will ever be done at this price, or that the state will offer us 0% financing in the future if they have the ability to fund it that way. But again, one way or the other, we're going to have to do it. And I hate to be back here 4, 5, 6 years from now and say, wow, it's $55 million now. What happened? We have the opportunity. 1/4 of this is going to be bought down by our rooms taxes, and it will not come back again unless it goes back on an intended use plan. I don't know about you, but if I turn down things that I apply for, it's not often that I can go back in about 6 months and say I changed my mind, because the deal is the deal. Right now, we've got 2 deals in our pocket, the state and the county. Doing anything other than approving this and going to the ballot will be walking away from that, and we'll still need a plan to do it.
Further debate. Gentleman over here.
They were first.
He's apparently deferred to you.
Thank you. Martha Donovan, East Harwich. I'm the chair of the Capital Outlay Committee, but I'm here tonight speaking as a taxpayer. I have been for 3 years begging this town to pay attention to the debt. So tonight, it was very refreshing to hear everybody talk about the debt. It is a very important thing that we need to consider because it's not like we spend it in 1 year. This debt we're talking about, we pay back over 30 years. We have about another $350 million to $400 million to spend on phase 4 through 8 and potentially a wastewater treatment plant. When we issue in 20 years the last piece of debt for our sewer project, that will go out another 30 years. So we'll be paying for this sewer project over 50 years. I personally won't be. I won't be here. And many of you won't be here. But to the woman's point before, those are the kind of things that the kids and grandkids are going to pay for. And we don't have a choice. If we go back to what we agreed to do in the sewer project, the mandate was we were never going to sewer 100% of town. And we were going to sewer solely to remove nitrogen from the bay. And this got tacked on in phase 8 at the end of the sewer project. And because we had ARPA money, we decided, let's do the engineering for this project. And it's like a snowball that's rolling out of control. That project picked up speed, it got moved forward. Now we're talking about how we have to approve it because somebody's going to give us some benefit of financing. At the end of the day, we're still going to pay the principal and interest. So don't kid yourself that we're not paying the principal and interest on this project. I would say to you, I never think it's a good idea to think about how to do a project and when to do a project based on the funding that you get for the project. What's most important is the merits of the project. And I would argue that, and Jeff made most of my points, but the merits of the project are that it's expensive. It's expensive per household, and part of that is because we have done the engineering, and the utilities that are under Queen Anne Road are excessive, and we're going to use grinder pumps to get the waste over the utilities, and then we're going to have to go around the curve at the rotary. I mean, it is a very complex project. It is expensive, not just in terms of cost per household, but how we have to pay for the debt. It also, we haven't done any other studies to say, is there another way to deal with the ponds? We don't have a plan for the ponds. And why are these ponds more important than another pond? And are we setting a precedent for somebody to say, and as Harry met Sally, I'll have what she's having? It's not okay. We also are talking about water quality, and our experts have said, no, this isn't about water quality. And yet people keep getting up here and saying it's about water quality. People are saying we have the ability to send the affluent to Chatham. Well, when we negotiated with Chatham, if you all remember, we negotiated phase 2 and phase 3. And I'm not saying we don't have excess, but we can't just send it to Chatham without negotiating with them about another phase of the sewer going over to Chatham. And I don't know if anybody was paying attention at the time that we were talking about the schools in that meeting, but they had suggested, the 2 select board members from Chatham, that they wanted to use the affluent agreement against us. So it's not a guarantee that we can send affluent. And Michelle's shaking her head, but that is what the 2 select board members said. So I feel that this has gotten out of control and that we're going to make a financial decision based on the fact that we think we're going to get some savings, instead of saying, is this the right project to do? Have we thought about all the ponds? Are we setting a bad precedent to ask other people to come forward from ponds who are going to want to have the same thing? So I would suggest, I would pray, so that we're not adding to the debt burden, that people would say no to this project, because this is a project that we can say no to and not impact the ability to meet the state mandate. Thank you.
Further debate. Over here.
Margaret Fallon, Bluebird Lane. Everything I've heard in the last couple of years is that sewering is inevitable. I happen to live on Bluebird, thank you, right off of Queen Anne Road, and would be one of the first to be sewered. And I'm just 1 or 2 houses from the pond. all my neighbors across the pond, what we're really doing is setting up for their future, because they aren't on the map yet, and they probably need sewering more than our side does. But at least on our side, we're already going to use the underutilized sewer line that goes straight to Chatham, to the treatment plant. We're already paying taxes on that, and we really don't use it compared to what we could be. So if we weren't going to sewer, I grew up with sewers. I never understood why we didn't have it. My grandmother, the whole deal, the whole before the septic, you know. So if we're not going to sewer, then I would agree with the previous speaker. But if eventually down the road, when we're not here, I want to leave it to my kids and eventually grandkids as well, at least the main pathway will be there on Queen Anne Road when they start to go off to Clearwater and Rainbow, and that's in the distant future, but we got to get ready. And I do think if the money's here now and it's going to disappear, it's kind of like, where's the affordable housing example? How much was it 25 years ago to do some of that, and now it's so expensive? I mean, it's just going to get more expensive. We should do it now.
Thank you. Further debate. Gentleman to my right.
She still has.
No, sir, you've been standing. This is your turn.
Okay. I just wanted to ask a question about this. How many lots are likely to be developed as a result of the sewering in this area? So that's sort of a rhetorical question, because I don't think anybody knows the answer to that. But
Well, let me see if anybody can respond. Do we have an expert here that can respond to that? Mr. Powers? How many lots?
How many undeveloped lots are there that will be developed as a result of sewering?
This is not the purpose of the project. It's not for development. I believe there are less than 10, if less than 5 vacant properties, but the purpose of sewering throughout the town has never been, and I'm not aware that there's any effort to change it, for the purposes of development.
Okay, so that the undeveloped land in that will be serviced by these sewers will not be more likely to be developed because of the sewering?
It's not the expectation of the town that the sewer will cause the development. If it's developable land now, it's developable land after the sewer, and the purpose of the sewer is not to promote development.
Okay, thanks.
That's in the town's regulations presently for the last 10 years, I believe.
Okay. So you spoke 9.5 minutes. You got 30 seconds left because you can speak a total of 10 minutes on each article, 2 times
Okay, I'm going to be
speaking.
really fast. I just want to share a few things that I learned during the select board meetings that I attended. First, we've already met our nitrogen target, so that should not have even brought up. Second, with regard to cost, it might be less, and the state revolving fund actually estimates $22 million, which is significantly less than what keeps getting accelerated here. And third, what was the select board? The select board is empowered with building the sewers, which is something that I learned. The wastewater department takes over after the sewers are built. So whose job it is it to collect the information? It's the select board. So when they stand up and they say they don't have enough information, it's because they did not do their jobs. And let me point out, what was Mr. Handler talking, I can't attack people, what was the select board talking about when I first brought this to them? They were researching municipal policies on dogs in public places because they didn't want Patrick to bring his dog into public places. $31 million on the table, and these guys are talking about pet policies. So please listen to the common sense of the people in the room about why these sewers are important and vote yes.
Just so you know.
Gentleman to my left.
Yes, good evening. My name is Joe LaRose. I live on 14 Lakeside Terrace, which is within the Great Sand Lakes area there. One of the things I took a look at here regarding what's happening with the sewers and so forth is, and I've been involved with this whole sewer situation for several years. I've owned the current house that we're talking about for close to 40 years. And I got involved in this when you guys had the CDM, I think it was Dave Young, company out of Boston that was working on the sewers there. And when this whole sewer system was set up with the connection to Chatham for the waste treatment plant, the Great Sand Lakes was part of phase 3. And then at some point there, early in the process, it got, and that's when Dave Young was still working on it, it got moved to phase 8. And then, of course, we went with the other company, GHD. And so I was kind of surprised because all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, let's see. I guess it started really with Dan, who was running the audit department at the time, and an engineer that was working for GHD, Russ Klecramp, if I'm saying his name correctly, okay? And I talked to him extensively, and he's sort of an expert when it comes to freshwater ponds. And he told us that within 5, and this was about 2 years ago, or 2.5, maybe even 3 years ago, he said, I think from what I've learned here, and I believe that you're going to have a real bad situation here within 5 years with these ponds. And I don't think you'll be able to swim in them after about 5 years. And by the way, the ponds have sort of a double problem here. In addition to the situation with the septic systems, we have a Canadian problem. And I guess Sean left here a little bit earlier. I'm a member of Cranberry Valley and have been for many years. The Canadian problem has to do with the Canadian geese. And the Canadian geese, they spend most of the day at Cranberry Valley. I can tell you the 11th hole is their favorite spot. Okay, the 11th green, I should say. And as soon as it starts to get dark, they all, the whole flock of them, they fly over to Bucks Pond, which is the largest pond on the Great Sand Lakes. And they leave the digested materials on the lake that night, and then they go back in the morning for more of that the great grass that they eat over at Cranberry Valley. So it's kind of a double problem that we have at the Great Sand Lakes there. I took a look at there's about 300 homes that have rights, if you will, to utilize the private beaches in Great Sand Lakes. And I went through and took a look at the valuations for 2025 of those homes. It really comes out to a little over $200 million. Now, you kind of look at the fact that if Russ Klecramp is correct, and we're going to have a situation, and by the way, last year and the year before, we've had to close the lakes to swimming a couple of times because of blooms that were taking place in the lakes. And if you're not going to be able to swim in these lakes after about 5 years, most of the time, if you don't do the sewers, and hopefully you can do something about the Canadians, then the property values here are going to probably go down about, I would say, about 20%. So $200 million in property value, 20% down, there's $40 million right there. Now, the town will get its money with people that, other taxpayers and other homes will pick up the differential when these values go down, okay? So that's just another situation. Mr. Handler said, we have no idea what this is going to cost. I have a problem with that. I'm not sure if the, what's his name here, Jason, where it is, no, Jeff Gregg, if Jeff's still over on the other bleachers there, I'm not sure. At any rate, we pay these guys to figure that out, okay? That's part of what we paid them for. I know that Dan Pelletier and when Russ Klecramp were doing the two jobs, they were figuring out exactly how much this was going to cost. Not exactly, but they were getting it into a range that we could be happy with. So I don't know why GHD, I'm sorry,
hasn't got some kind of a handle on what this whole thing is going to cost. We pay these guys to do that. I would say that they should have some kind of a pretty good estimate for that. So that's about what I've got here. So the cost to the devaluation of the $200 million worth of real estate that's within Great Sand Lakes now, if you can't swim in those lakes, it's a real problem. And by the way, the houses that are, of course, have the most value are the houses that were right on the ponds. And those people have an additional problem because, as we saw last summer, the state and then the town were putting up notifications. Some of the people are renters here, and we had to go out and tell some of these renters, hey, didn't you see the sign on the other side of the pond here? You got to get your kids out of the water. They're not supposed to be swimming here. And that's another liability we have with the situation here with the blooms that are coming up on those little ponds here. And we spent quite a bit of money on Hinckley's Pond back, I think, in 2019 because of the bloom there. These smaller ponds are more susceptible to the waste that's going through the septic systems, et cetera, and they're going to be harder to control. And I think Russ Kleeklamp said it all, because these are small ponds. He said they're going to be ruined if you wait for what I think is going to be. Don, you said the other day when I was talking to you that the whole Chatham situation has to be done in 20 years. I don't believe that's going to be that's possible. You guys don't even know where you don't know where the first shovel is even going to go in the ground for a treatment plant here in Harwich, I don't think. So I think it's going to be a lot longer than 20 years. Time will tell. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. This woman over here.
Hi, my name is Talitha Abramson. I live in West Harwich on Smith Street. I live in the Bell's Neck Conservation Area, which was really the reason we bought our house 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, I never thought I would be this passionate about wastewater. I am an affordable housing advocate, and wastewater is one of the biggest barriers to building an ADU, to any type of housing development. But on top of it, we're losing our tourism and our economic development when we have our real estate values go down, when we have our waterways polluted. So I feel like I would be remiss to not share what I've learned in the work that I've done in this area at the intersection of wastewater and housing, which there are more tools that we can investigate besides the two main ones on the table. And the point of pride I have about this town for the 6 short years I've lived here is learning about what we did in the 80s and 90s at our town dump. We were internationally known for a pioneering pilot that we did at our town dump to treat raw septage with plants and sunlight and water. We were internationally recognized. We were nationally awarded by the EPA for the work at our town dump. We were able to turn raw septage into potable drinking water in 10 days. We need to look at that, learn from that, not have it shelved in 5 boxes in our DPW attic, and know that there are other alternatives like eco toilets that are being investigated in other towns on the Cape. Falmouth is leading the way. They have the most estuaries that are, in jeopardy, but they're not unique. They're like any other town in our county and on the Vineyard. The Vineyard is investigating what's called urine diverting toilets, as is Falmouth, as a way to take the nitrogen directly from our urine and not let it hit our groundwater. Potentially, if that is approved by the DEP through a pilot, it is a much cheaper and a closed loop cycle that we could use that urine, once pasteurized, as fertilizer, as an income source. This is what we need to look at besides 2 main tracks that are potentially going to indebt multiple generations who may not even be able to afford to live here to pay those taxes. I would love to talk about having a third way, bringing pride back to our town for being a pioneer in that. And if anyone's interested, come see me afterwards. But there are more options that we need to start talking about that don't pose housing and wastewater as enemies.
Gentleman in the middle.
Ben Warshaw, 8 Lakeway Lane. I grew up learning to swim in Bucks Pond and vacationing on the south side of that pond. I currently own a home on the north side of that pond, just on the north side of Queen Anne. I am not a member of the Great Sand Lakes neighborhood because I am on the north side of Queen Anne Road. I am bordered with Hawks Nest Preservation Area. So that is most of the vacant land that is covered by this section of the project. The houses north of Queen Anne are included, so this is not just for the Great Sand Lakes neighborhood. We flow down towards Great Sand Lakes and towards that pond. I would love for my kids to be able to learn to swim in that pond, and I am more than happy to take on that tax burden of a couple $100s a year, maybe at the most, for the next 30 years. When it comes to the cost of living and the issues here, a few $100s a year makes a lot less of a difference than a few $100s a month on interest for a loan and the price of housing. So that's more of a concern for me with housing. I would like to ask Mr. Handler, you mentioned the wells were a few miles away and south of that area, and I'm looking at the mass mapper right now, and that doesn't really seem to be accurate. If you look at the Zone 2 maps, it's like a gigantic Venn diagram, and there are a lot of wells in that area. So I'm curious as to where that information was coming from. These are all nitrogen-sensitive areas. We restrict properties in those areas for any number of reasons, but this is not going to lead to overdevelopment. There's not really a lot of vacant land there. Trust me, I live there.
Mr. Hughes from the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd just like to remind everybody that I appreciate the dialogue, by the way, that a mere 7 articles ago, which was that 5 hours ago, something like that, we passed Article 13, which is the capital plan. The capital plan for FY 2026 at the very bottom includes the Great Sand Lake Sewer Design and Construction Project at $35 million, which is what we're talking about. I think that people don't tend to focus too much on the capital plan, which I would appreciate if they would, because if you supported the capital plan, it indicates you support this project.
Further debate? Yes, ma'am. I think you're first.
Good evening, Sally Urbano from West Harwich. Just wanted to reiterate a little bit of hope in all of this.
Can't hear you.
Cannot hear me now.
Now it's better now.
A little bit of hope in all of this, as to one of the previous speakers, because I'm passionate about and I love Dr. Todd, who's out of Falmouth, Massachusetts. He's the person that did Flax Pond for us here. Amazing results. Flax Pond is still pretty okay. He's got installations using nature to clean these ponds all over the world. So go home, look up Ocean Arcs International, and see what you think about it. It's pretty cool. Thanks.
Thanks. Linda Sabula.
Thank you. I heard some information, and I would like somebody to give me a straight answer on this question. Harwich and Chatham have an intermunicipal agreement, to my understanding, that they will take certain waste into their plant, clean it, and then be effluent. The purified water then goes into the ground is basically what happens. Is there a place in that agreement that will take this waste from this area, or does the agreement have to be renegotiated, or do we need a new agreement? I would just like to have that technical answer. Give me a yes or no here.
Does it need to be renegotiated or modified, or is the current agreement sufficient to handle
Yes.
the flow?
Will it actually allow us, because we're saying, people are saying here, oh, it's just going to go to Chatham. Well, is that true at this point?
Mr. Powers.
It's not that we're going to renegotiate the IMA, the intermunicipal agreement, that it requires the party to meet. This is not in a watershed covered under the IMA. It's not directly to Pleasant Bay. Therefore, we have to sit down as two parties to get into that soon.
Thank you. So that means that anybody who's saying it's going to automatically go to Chatham, that's an incorrect statement. Great. Thank you.
Selectman Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I also want to point out and follow up on a couple items Don did bring up. But, you know, we were forced from a 40-year term to a 20-year term to address our water quality issues in our sewering plan. So we all need to be mindful of that. That is not something we chose. That is something that's been put upon us. In addition, all bodies of water in our towns across the Cape are the true economic backbone of every town on the Cape. We need to protect all bodies of water, and I'm talking ponds, and they're not currently in the nitrogen in our CWMP, and this is not a specific nitrogen problem. But at the same token, it is a body of water that affects, well, multiple bodies of water that we, as a town, should be concerned in protecting. We made the top 10 list. You heard that there were 20. 10 others were cut. There are subsidies available. In this day and age, in this current political environment, we don't even know what other funding is going to be available tomorrow, let alone in a year or two, or I'll go out and say, until we get to the next presidential election. So we don't know what we're dealing with, but we know now what we're eligible for. We have had multiple conversations on this. We have assurance that it's not a drinking water issue, and I do want everybody to understand that, and our water department has gone to great lengths to assure us, and they do a fantastic job every day. So all of that needs to be cleared up, but ultimately, if you made the top 10 list and someone was giving you money at subsidies, I should say, they're not giving us money, but subsidies, then I don't think that we should walk away from this. And I go back to multiple meetings that I attended when we were beginning the sewering discussions and listened to other people far more knowledgeable than me. At the time, I knew nothing about the sewering that we were going to face. And I listened to people say how sorry they were that they didn't sewer in the 80s when there was money available. So I'd ask you to consider all of those elements of this discussion because they're important. And debt is important as well. I'm a homeowner. I don't have an unlimited income either. But at the end of the day, if you're living on the Cape because you love this environment and people are coming to the Cape because they love this environment, then we need to protect what makes this environment and this place to live so important to so many people. And that is what makes us thrive. So thank you.
Mr. Weiser.
Yeah, Bob Weiser, 6 Birch Drive out in the Headwaters District. I made a great decision. We didn't buy a house in the Sand Lakes area. We bought a house on the edge of the Punkhorn. We're lucky. And lucky is a big part of what we need to keep in mind. We are all fortunate to live here. You know, whether you grew up here and learned to swim in Bucks Pond or you moved here as a wash ashore like I did, we have a gift of living in this beautiful place. Kicking this project down the road is completely irresponsible. We've been, us humans, us Harwich people, all of us, have kicked this stuff down the road long enough. Let's vote for this thing. Let's get it done. Let's get the next phase done. Yes, we're going to have to pay taxes. There's no other way to do it. We've already reaped some of the benefits, and if we don't fix this mess, our properties aren't going to be worth anything anyway. You know, it's not the Canadian geese that have polluted our waters. It is the human beings primarily, and it's our habits that we need to change. The fertilizer and the septic systems, all of this is related to each other. There's no other way. Let's stop kicking this stuff down the road for some later time when we'll know more. There won't be money, there won't be time, there won't be resources. Let's do it.
So I get to you. Gentleman to my right.
Stan Pastuzak, Norris Drive. I'd like to make a motion to move the question.
All right, so there's been a motion to move the question. It has been seconded. It's a motion to terminate debate. It's non-debatable and requires a 3/4 majority to pass. All those in favor of the motion to terminate debate on Article 20 so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no.
No.
Unless it gets a unanimous vote, I'll have to take a standing count. I can declare it 2/3 under the law, but I can't declare it 3/4. So let's try it one more time. All those in favor of terminating debate on Article 20 so signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed by saying no. It's a unanimous vote, and I so declare it. So if the tellers are here, would they come forward, please? Yes, Mr. Thompson. No, the motion passed, so we're going to take the vote. On the main motion. Okay, for those of you who have maybe not kept track, we're on Article 20. Again, the motion that we're going to be voting on is it be accepted and adopted. It's to be funded with borrowing, $35 million, and that borrowing is subject to a Prop 2.5, not override, but debt exclusion on the principal and interest. All those in favor of that motion, please rise, hold up your blue voter card, and be counted. All those in favor?
Just so you know, this is the next article on here. I wrote on the back of that.
Oh. You need
Just so
this.
you know, we lost. Okay. That's crazy.
Peter, I'm not taking any more business.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. So we just move to adjourn to tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Mr. Robinson. 36 from Mr. Robinson. Lynn. 25. Joan McCarty. 107. Mr. Banks. 120. All those opposed to the motion made under Article 20. Those in opposition, please rise and show your voter card. Mr. Robinson. 8. Ms. McCarty, 10. Lynn? 4. And Mr. Banks? 8. So those in favor on the motion, 288. Those in opposition, 30. Motion carries by the necessary 2/3. Now, our custom is that we do not take up business, new business, after 10:30, and so we're beyond that. And before I recognize Mr. Hughes to adjourn the meeting to tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock, where we'll pick up on Article 21, for those of you, 7 o'clock tomorrow, for those of you who are hurrying home to watch the tape, the Celtics did lose in overtime, 108 to 105, but they'll play again. Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Chair, and I move that we adjourn town meeting until tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock.
All right, a motion's been made to adjourn the annual town meeting until tomorrow night here at 7 o'clock. All those in favor so signify by saying aye. And those opposed by saying no. Meeting's adjourned till tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. See you then. Thank you.